Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Roger Hanson. I'm here with another episode that I haven't done any of these in a long time, but another episode of Into the Abyss. Today, we are going to go a little bit further in what I've been talking about. We had people on before and talked about philosophy, and we talked about or we started talking about mysticism. Now I'm going to go deeper into it. I have a friend of mine, Sonia, here, and she is into numerology, and I had to let her know that a lot of the stuff she's talking about has to do with astrology, so she's got some experience there too.
A little
Um,
bit.
she's got a little bit of it, but we're going to what we're going to be talking about today has to it pertains to a lot of history. Don't get me wrong, because there is history in this stuff. Before I was going to say I wanted to get into astrology, talk a little bit about Jupiter, and then I found out Sonia is really good in numerology, and that's something that's always been popping up on our show about
Yeah.
numerology. So I think we should have some conversation about that too. You know what I mean, Sonia?
Mhm.
Kind of bring that out. And then earlier, before we did this string, Sonia did a what'd you call that again? Astrological make build or
It was a
something?
natal chart. I'm
Yeah,
talking about your natal chart.
yeah, that my natal
Hmm.
chart.
Yeah, it's just your birth chart.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
she did that, and what I'd like to do is basically do a breakdown on the process of how you do that. You know what I mean? Kind of get that,
Well,
and say it in your
it's
own words. You don't have to get all technical or anything. You know what I'm saying? Just
well, that's good because I'm not very technical as far as that goes.
well, I know.
I tried to learn astrology or how to do charts back in like 1992 or so. It was before there were computers,
Uh huh.
and there's a lot of math that goes into it, and like a lot of math. And I just didn't want to take the time to do it when I was in my 20s, I guess. So I should have done that back then. I would know a lot more than I do right now. But so I just use the computer programs to do it for me. Really, I mean, I like to intuit things as far as like what house it's in, what the planet means, and what the zodiac sign means as far as that goes, and combine them all together.
Uh huh.
I really don't like their interpretations because it's just a computer interpretation and it doesn't really take all the other factors into account. It's much better to get your chart done by an actual person rather than a computer. So, uh, but I don't really. I mean, it's very easy. You just put your details in there and hit the button, bam, and then there you go. So,
So you use what's the name of the computer program that you use?
the one that I used is called Janus, Janus.
Janice.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on. You can download it from the internet if you want. That one's okay. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff on there. There's a lot of things that I don't know about it, like you can do tropical houses, or you can do placidus or sidrial, or there's different like types, and there's like quite a few types, and I really don't know what the other types are. It has to do with how the wheels cut up apparently, and how it makes a difference on interpretation.
Yeah, and
So
see that was something that I was talking about in chat with everybody before. Like everybody thinks that, what is it, 12 houses are supposed to be
mhm.
according to the zodiac, and I was mentioning to him that back in the ancient days there was actually 18 houses. You know what I mean?
Really,
Yeah, there.
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Sumerians all the way up until the Assyrians and the
Wow.
Babylonians believed in 18 houses. But when what was his name? Nebuchadnezzar. I always have a hard time.
That
Nebuchadnezzar.
guy, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Nebuchadnezzar came into power. He created a library, and then they started getting more precise on the zodiacs. And what they were trying to do
wow.
was consolidate all the deities
Hmm.
into so that they had Marduk, who was the Babylonian. Uh, well,
Hmm.
he would be the head of the pantheon for the Babylonians. It would be Marduk, and then in Assyria it was Assur or Assur, and they
Hmm.
wanted them to be the head of the pantheon. So they started consolidating all these gods, and that's when people started going from divination to looking up at the stars and connecting the gods to the stars. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
out of that, they created 18 houses.
Wow.
And then by the end of all that, when the Greeks finally caught on to it, it was 12 houses. They finally consolidated it all down to 12 houses. But they could never get uh, everything to like a monolithical or monotheistic belief
Yeah.
system. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
could
The one.
the one God. They could
Uh-huh.
never do that. But they tried their best. They started taking and incorporating their deities into with one another so that they could merge them together. They had a
Hmm.
problem with Enki and Enlil because
Hmm.
En,
Hmm.
all that means in ancient times was Lord. And
Right.
then you had Lil, which was the sky. So Lord
Hmm.
of the
What's the
sky.
L mean? The L means something, right?
In Lil, L is
The
actually
L.
that one's a weird one.
Yeah, that one's
That one's
heard of it.
actually a generic Phoenician word
Mm.
for Lord.
Phoenician.
For Lord,
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
and there's a really strange connection between the Phoenicians, the Amorites, and Babylon. And I'm still kind of going through all that, trying to figure it out because, like, Christians say that they smited the Amorites. You know what I mean? But at the same time, freaking the Amorites are the ones who founded Babylon. So,
Yeah.
so what?
It'd be hard to tell too with so many lies in history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
It's
how?
like, what do you read that's right, or where do you look that you're going to get good information? You know.
Yeah, it's really hard. So,
Have you heard of Jason Bashir's? He's Archaics. He has the Archaics ordeal. He has read so many old books. He was in prison for like many years, and he read like a zillion different old books, and he just got really like educated on what like the whole like ordeal that was going on and how history has lied here and how they've lied here and how they have cycles going on in there.
mm-hmm.
That and he points to different spots of books, like actual books, which are, I mean, books can be written at the uh, because someone told them to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I won't name any names here. Stitching anyway, and or or they could
Well,
basically the
I didn't catch that. What'd you say?
I was just say it's stitching.
Yeah, oh, stitching.
Uh, yeah,
Yes.
but but it's less likely that you're going to find false information in a book that someone wrote rather than like a history book or something like that's from the official sources.
Yeah.
So I find his information very interesting, and he's probably, I mean, I'm not too into the older type stuff like that. I mean, I know a little bit about it, heard about it, but I'm not so interested in that as other stuff. But I bet you would love to hear what he has to say about all that stuff. You'd probably get a good amount of research done.
Well, you
And
know
he
I
actually
would.
gives us stuff away for free, so
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
You know I
So,
would. I mean, wasn't it you who
mhm.
I was talking? No, it was somebody else. I was talking about like divination and how they used to do stuff to uh, to livers. Man, they would.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that must have been somebody else.
Back in the
Uh,
day, man, they would practice uh, divination through sacrificial animals, and they would use the liver
you.
of these sacrificial animals, and they would observe it because if
So gross.
they thought that if that through observations, they
Uh,
could they could see what was happening with nature. And back in the day, that's where divination was all about. It was about nature rather than the stars. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
sure.
at some point, Babylon started changing from observing nature to observing the stars. They started connecting them together. You know. So
Hmm.
so I mean, yeah, I love that shit. I've always loved,
Yeah.
and people think I'm weird about that. You know what I mean? But this is
Weird. Why?
I have no idea. It's like this is our history. You know what I mean? It's like everybody likes to
Well, it's
paint.
interesting. I like to get to the root of things too. Like what's the where did it start? You know what I mean? Like what's the very bottom of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I mean, that's how you find out everything else, really,
Well,
you know,
you
if you
watched
ask me.
the first episode of Into the Abyss, okay? Every single person that was on there that you watched did not want to do this topic at all. Okay.
Probably because they don't know a lot about it, you know?
Well,
It
I
might be
mean,
intimidating.
the whole thing about it is they knew that I was going to be talking about sacrificial livers and
Ew.
divination.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's one thing to sit around and talk about philosophy when it comes to Pythagoras and
Mm,
Porphyry and all of these guys. You know what I mean? That's
mm.
just philosophy. But when you start dabbing into the truth of what was really going on, you know, nobody wants to hear that stuff. They don't want to hear that.
Yeah, that's gross,
Yeah,
man. I
that's
mean,
horrible.
and a lot of that sacrificial stuff was, I mean, from I, who knows if that's, I mean, because I wasn't there, so I can only go by, you know, and so much of our history is bullshit that I'm like, you know, I don't know. But if even so, that would be like, in a way, like promoting that sort of thing as being like normal, at least back then, I guess. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just meant to twist people's heads, really. If, you know, all in all, like overall, really.
Well, I
But,
mentioned this before though, like time differences. Okay, like today, somebody
mm-hmm,
if somebody hears that you're superstitious or that you believe in, you know, spirits that are around you and stuff, they look at you like you're different or you're strange. Okay,
mm-hmm.
you
Oh, yeah.
you know. Well, yeah,
Oh, I'm a little
yeah, okay.
familiar with
You
that.
have no idea what I'm
I've
talking
always
about.
been the weird one, okay?
Yeah,
Like
I
everywhere
know.
I went, always the weird
Well, I've got a. This is leading up to something good, so give me a second, okay?
one.
but
uh,
like back in the ancient days, that wasn't the case. All right, everybody believed that. You know what I mean? Everybody believed that there were evil
right.
spirits outside of their house, and that there was
Yeah.
curses and omens, and this was an everyday belief that people did believe in. Like, and
Hmm.
it's like trying to compare the way we think today to the way people thought back then is it's impossible because in real life, you know what I mean? We could never imagine living that kind of in that kind of a world. Like if you said a cuss word back then, or you know, a curse word,
Right.
they would probably stone you to death
Wow.
because and curse words back then were different. Like we say,
I'm sure.
you know what I mean? We say shit and stuff like that today. That's not a curse word. You know what I mean? Like when I turn around and I say something that's uh, evil towards you, that's cursing you. It doesn't matter if it's got the word shit in it. You know what I mean? That's a
Right, right, right.
you know. So, and these are different ways. People acted different back then than what they did today. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
you know, so today it would be kind of distorted and screwed up that people would be out sacrificing a deer maybe in public. You know, if you seen that in public, you would probably flip out. You know
Yeah, right. Like, what the fuck are you doing to that deer, man?
what I mean? You'd
If you
find
want
out.
it for dinner, why are you doing that? You know, I mean, come
Yeah. But yeah, they but
isn't
today,
that what they do in like I guess Israel or wherever, where they had that? recently they had the golden calf thing going on or something, and it was because, or the Red Bull.
Oh
Was
yeah,
it the Red Bull?
yeah.
Yeah, where they sacrificed it.
Now
Anyway,
that would be actually a good conversation to get into about the bull because you're into the zodiacal sign, right?
yeah.
Okay, you know what the bull represents, right?
Um, uh, well, it's like a bull, like ramming things,
You know what I'm talking about.
right? And bullheadedness, stubbornness, kind of thing. I mean, as related, it's just like the archetype of the bull, I guess, right? Or
Yeah.
are you talking about something different?
Now, now, let me. I can pull it up real quick. The zodiac. I actually have the charts of them all. Now they have what they call the Molopen, and these are ancient ones, but the Molopen was the more updated and revised version of it. But then the first actual astrological zodiac was called the Three Stars Each, and
Hmm.
the Three Stars Each, it was the first formal compendium of star lists, and that was from the 12th century BC.
Wow.
And they represent a tripartite division of the heavens. The northern hemisphere belonged to Enlil, the equator belonged to Anu, and the southern hemisphere belonged to Enki. Now, I've already went over Enki and Enlil. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Enki, by the way,
Anu's, yeah. Sorry.
Ki stands for Earth. A lot of people say that he's water, but that actually, the underwater or the and underworld, fresh water, whatever. But that
Mm-hmm.
was later on with the Babylonians. He did become Ea, and but before that, his name was Enki. He was the Lord of the Earth, and
Okay.
Enlil was Lord of the Sky, and then Anu is On, and then his name changed to Anu, and On is actually he represents heaven. Period, like heaven. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So that's where Walmart got their name from,
Probably.
for all their electronic devices. Maybe.
So
Wouldn't be surprised.
let me see. The boundaries were at 17 degrees north and south, so that the sun um, spent exactly 3 consecutive months in each third. The enumeration of stars in the three stars each category included 36 stars, 3 for each month. The terminer glyph for constellations or star in these lists is mul, which is MUL, originally a pictograph of 3 stars, as it uh, as it what as it were a triplet of on ANs, on signs. Uh, that would be, e.g., the Pleiades are referred to as a star cluster or star of stars in the list written by Momo. Okay, now Momo was the guy who did all this stuff. That's why they put MUL at the beginning of it, because he's the one who started it, and he went by Momo.
Okay.
And the thing that I found out that was so weird was Pleiades. Okay, um, this kind of takes you back to a lot of the stuff people talks about with aliens and stuff, and that's one thing that really stuck out to me. Um, I didn't realize that Pleiades was actually associated with with the constellation the astrological constellations and stuff back during that day. And that kind of gets me to rethinking a lot of stuff that Stitchin did. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
because like apparently whoever tried to or did discredit him and everything and said that his stuff wasn't real didn't apparently check out these constellations and the star charts that the Anunnaki, I mean, and the Anunnaki is actually a part of all this stuff. I, the, the
Well, I would imagine.
the word Anunnaki is actually a part of all of this. I was going through there and I was checking it out, and then what threw me off is Pleiades is directly related to it. Um, and originally a pictograph of three stars, as it were a triplet of on, on signs, which is heaven. E.g., the Pleiades are referred to as a star cluster or star of stars. So they consider Pleiades the star of stars.
Okay.
So that kind of, I know that's weird, but it kind of makes sense to me when it comes to like having to listen to a lot of people talk about UFOs and then about aliens and stuff like that. Why a lot of people focus in on the Pleiades.
Right.
That's probably where it all started from.
Maybe. I know they make a pretty big deal about it now, but that's just because
It's
they
popular.
make it trendy.
Yeah,
It's
trendy.
trendy.
I say
So.
that all the time too. I got I forgot his name. He was on Jaffe's show,
Hmm.
um, but he was always getting on there drunk and everything, and he got mad at me. He got mad at me because I told him freaking David Icke is never gonna come on anybody's show. And we got into it, and I told him, no, I mean David Icke, he goes in, and he fills up a room full of people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
David Icke's pretty high guest as far as like people watching goes. Shit,
yeah,
a lot of people know about him.
if you turn around and look at it, like he's filling rooms in stadiums. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Wembley or whatever it was called back when he was doing his tour. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that went there, which was cool.
I
Mm.
mean, if you want him on your show, you're going to end up paying him like freaking.
Probably have to pay him, I would imagine,
You'd
because
have to.
he's busy. He's a busy guy. He's got other shit to do.
Yeah. Well, you seen the books
So,
he's written, right? In his office,
oh
he's
yeah,
got like a whole freaking shelf full of nothing but
yeah,
videos or
yeah. I've read
books. I
a
mean,
few of his books. Yeah, yeah. I've learned a lot from him. He's got a. I mean, his mind was like really out there whenever back in the day. You know what I mean? Like when
yeah,
nobody knew about what was going on, he was like talking about these things that were crazy. Really, that's what everybody thought anyway. But I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I need to know about that stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, very interesting.
Now the second one that they had was called the Mulapin, which is MUL from that Mall guy, and then
Hmm.
Apin APIN, and it's a pair of tablets named for it's for their insipid. It's corresponding to the first constellations or the first constellation of the year, the Mulapin, and the Mulapin means the plow, or
Okay.
isn't it Plough? That's the plow, right?
Uh, yeah, but is it a certain kind of plow? That sounds seems, or did they just spell things different that way?
It could have been from another
I
country
can I can just look it up here real quick. You
because
take care of that.
because because when they spell stuff here, you can always tell the difference. Like these guys always spell color
Yeah,
Colour. You know what I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like
They
that.
have a little bit different an S and advertise instead of a Z or whatever.
Mm. Now it's identified with triangulum plus gamma Andromeda or Andromeda.
Yeah, it's a plow, and it's an alternative name for Ursa Major. the Great Bear.
The Great Bear, yeah. And the bear
Hmm.
is actually mentioned in this. Now, it's identified with Triangulum plus Gamma Andromeda. So now we have
Wow.
Pleiades and then and Andromeda.
Hmm.
So that's kind of cool right there.
Right. Right.
So the list is a direct descendant of the three stars each list. Um, it, um, it was reworked around 1000 BC on the basis of more accurate observations. Because you got to remember, these guys were up there or down there staring at these stars, and they were taking observations. And as time went by, they just got better at it, you know.
Hmm. Sure.
Um, so let's see what it says. They include more constellations, including more circumpolar ones. Uh, you know what a circumpolar constellation is?
I do not.
And more of the
Around a pole,
is
circumpole.
that could be including most circumpolar ones and more of the
Oh,
zodiacal ones. Because I know what
zodiacal. Wow.
zodiacal.
Haven't heard that one before.
Now there's
Cool.
zodiacal constellations and circupolar constellations.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so the Babylonian star catalogs entered Greek astronomy in the 4th century BC via I hate this, Eudoxus of Cnidus and others. Cnidus. See, and this is why I had a problem because these Greek people, they had all these weird names, and
Hmm.
the Phoenicians had really bad names too. Like, and trying to pronounce them is something that I've always had a problem with.
Yeah. Speaking of Greek, I found a Greek. I think it was a encyclopedia, and it was from like 1703.
Mm-hmm.
So I downloaded it, and it's in Greek. I can't read it.
No,
I was all excited, thinking, "Wow, this would be cool!" And look up all kinds of stuff, and then no, I can't really do that.
no. If you take that and you put it on, well, go and like take it. Is it a file on your computer?
It's a PDF, yeah.
Yeah, take
I
that.
think it's like pictures. It looks like it's how they take pictures of books and do it that way.
Now, if you open up your browser, okay, and you take that PDF and you grab it and you pull it over your browser, it'll open that PDF for you and allow you to read it, and you'll see it in Greek.
Really?
Yeah, you'll see it in Greek, but right click on it and
Okay.
translate to English.
Sweet. Okay, I'll try that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you can.
Awesome.
Now that's the one thing that I'm good for. I know how to like do.
You're good for more than one thing, Roger, I'm sure.
That's what
You know.
that's what they tell me. I just don't know
Yeah.
for sure if that's true or not. Now, a few of the constellation names in use in modern astronomy can be traced to Babylon sources via Greek astronomy. Among the most ancient constellations are those that mark the four cardinal points of the year in the Middle Bronze Age. Now, do you know
Hmm.
anything about the cardinal points?
I do. I know a little bit. The first thing I thought of when you're talking about that is the circle with the cross, which is, the Indians would use it. A lot of different cultures use that, and it
Mm-hmm.
it represents the like the four corners kind of thing, or the four directions kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they've got the card in astrology. There's the cardinal, the mutable, the air, and then there's the elements too that are like that. So pretty much every culture has that kind of four-way thing going on. If that's what you're talking about,
Okay,
I
so
think it is.
this is where we get to the bull. Okay, and
Okay.
we took a long walk to get a short distance, but I'm glad you're patient with me. I'm glad that you've been around me long enough to know how I am. So
Oh, it's interesting. It's all interesting stuff, you know.
Okay, now the Taurus. Okay, the Taurus is the bull,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he is the steer of heaven. All right,
Okay.
marking the vernal equinox. Then you have Leo. Now, these are all according to not only Greeks but the uh, Babylonians as well as the Assyrians. So you have Taurus the bull, the steer of heaven, marking the vernal equinox. Then you have Leo the lion, which is the lion, and he
Mm-hmm.
marks the summer solstice. Then you have Scorpion, and he is the scorpion, and he marks the autumn equinox. Now, this is some weird stuff right here, okay? Capricornus. Now, Capricornus is goat horned, okay? Everybody's used to the whole term goat horned, but
Mm-hmm.
he's also referred to as goat fish,
Wow.
okay? Now,
I'm
I
not
thought,
really surprised, actually.
now he's marked with the winter solstice. Now, Capricornus. Now, Capricornus is a mythical hybrid depicted on boundary stones. Okay, and this goes from before like 2000 BC, and it was used as a symbol of Ea, who is actually Enki.
Okay.
So that's probably where the whole thing about Enki being evil is, because a lot of people relate the winter solstice as like death, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. So that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking of.
interesting.
So Taurus, what what do you know about Taurus, young lady?
I know that I am a my my moon is in Taurus, I think, or Venus is one of them. Uh, and actually, my ascendant's Gemini, but I've got some Taurus in there. I was surprised about that because I dated a Taurus when I was a kid, and he was kind of an asshole and very stubborn type thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know too much about it other than it's I believe it's an Earth sign, right? And I don't I'm not really looking to hang out with Tauruses. They're kind of boring actually, or like mundane kind of thing.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I mean, that's just my from my perspective. So
Now,
yeah, that's I don't know much.
the one thing that really sticks out about me is the steer of heaven. This goes all the way back to like the epics of Gilgamesh. Like you remember hearing the story about Gilgamesh, didn't you? Or have you heard?
Um, I've heard that word before, but I'm not sure exactly what happened there, what it means.
No, what happened? Well, I ain't gonna tell the whole story, but I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah.
tell the story that
Apparently, it's
concern.
a big deal. Whatever it is. Yeah.
I'll tell the part that is, and I'm not gonna say it right. I'll probably mess it up. But like the bull, okay, the steer
Mm-hmm.
of heaven. It goes back to the epics of Gilgamesh, which is actually the first epic ever written, known to man. Okay,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and the steer of heaven was used by Ishtar, who went by the name of Inanna at the time. And what happened is she made a pass at Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh turned her down. Now Gilgamesh had a buddy that used to do things with him, like go on adventures and stuff. His name was Enkidu. So when she turned that, yeah, yeah I know Enkidu is
That
a funny
bastard.
name.
Just kidding.
But he turned her down on her advances, and she became angry, and she told Anu that if he didn't allow her to use the Bull of Heaven to freaking fight against Gilgamesh, she would raise the dead, and
Okay.
and the dead would devour everything on Earth. And does that sound familiar to you?
Um, It sounds like a zombie movie kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the first actual account of zombies in written form. So the
There you go.
first epic that was ever written had freaking zombies involved in it.
That's funny. There's a synchronicity is, right? I just had a synchronicity with the zombie thing, which is very interesting. And I was going to tell you about that anyway, just because I just want to vent. But zombies, yeah. So my grandson was watching some. He's like just a little over a year. He's very young,
Uh huh.
and his father was allowing him to watch some violent shows. And when I had gotten up to get ready for this, I was like, well, what are you doing letting him watch that? I mean, he's a little baby. He doesn't need to watch people slicing each other in half. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be good for him. And he's like, well, he's going to have to fight zombies someday. And I was just like, well, maybe, but that's later, not right now. You know, you're just going to confuse him. So it's just interesting that the whole zombie, and then we have this epic, which is like that's just really really odd.
Yeah.
And then people are kind of becoming zombies a little bit.
Well,
So
and you got to realize too, this was the Epic of Gilgamesh was written well over 5,000 years ago
right,
at least. You know.
right, right. That brings up cycles
So
a little bit.
the weird part about it is like well I'll tell you in the end what happens is Gilgamesh doesn't die from it, but the Bull of Heaven actually fights and kills Enkidu. So
Yeah.
that takes him on to another adventure where he tries to find eternal, uh, or he wanted to acquire immortality. Gilgamesh did, so he went on another adventure, and the person that was supposed to be Noah, according to the Sumerians, was supposed to be on an island, and he traveled, or no, it was the Lebanon actually. He had to go into Lebanon and fight against people so that he could talk to them, or evil deities. I haven't been able to read any of that yet, but just figured
Wow.
I'd point
Very extensive.
yeah, I well, it's not really that extensive. It's just I
Yeah.
haven't been able to get to actually reading all of it. I've read parts of it here and there, but I want to get in there and read the whole thing, and it's not really that extensive. It's really short.
No, it seems that way to me. The whole ordeal with the
Well,
inking stuff.
well, with
You know.
Gilgamesh had so much information in it, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. It was short, but it had a lot of information. People to this day still use it for references and
Yeah,
everything.
I was just gonna say I hear a lot of people like, well, not maybe not a lot, but I hear people from time to time reference that. So
It's
it definitely has a little bit of relevance today, apparently. You know.
well, the snake shedding its skin is the one that sticks out to
Right.
me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, that's something in there, and he put down uh, this this what was it? It was I'm wanting to get it right. It was supposed to be something that it was like a vegetable or some shit. He put it down next to a lake so that he could swim and bathe and clean himself up. And while he was in the water, the snake came up and ate this vegetation. And after he ate it, he shed his skin and left. So when Enkidu got out of the water, he freaking seen that this was missing because it was just given to him so that it could. It wouldn't give him immortality, but it would make him live longer. All right. And
Hmm.
whenever he freaking got out of the water and he looked down, it was gone. But uh, he found the skin of the snake where it had shed its skin, so he messed up and lost again his chance for immortality. Because before, when he finally met this guy who was supposed to be the equivalence of Noah, All right. Noah was actually supposed to have become immortal. And that's the reason why this whole adventure started, because he had saved mankind. He was, some people say it's rewarded, some people say he was cursed, but he was rewarded or cursed with immortality, and he had to go to Lebanon to live on his own, and for forever. You know what I mean? So Gilgamesh was going on his adventure to try to find him and figure out the secrets to immortality. All right, and what he told him was, is you have to be able to stay awake with me for a certain amount of time. And Gilgamesh said he could do it, but he was tired from all of his travels, and because
Ah,
because he was tired, he ends up falling asleep. So he
right.
screws up, and he can't become immortal. But instead of him leaving with nothing, he gave him this vegetation, or I think it might have been even like some kind of fruit or some shit. I'll have to check into that,
Right.
but he ended up freaking losing his first chance of being immortal right there, and then when he was bathing, he ends up losing that freaking a chance to live a longer life, you know. So there's supposed to be like a lesson in there.
What's the moral of the story?
I'll tell you about that later, but
Okay.
but that's what the steer of heaven and the vernal equinox reminds me of whenever they say the Taurus, you know what I mean, or the Taurus. So now
Right.
Leo is mine, Leo the lion, okay, and that one is because I'm on July the 29th. I'm just at the border, like I'm just
Right.
barely crossing into Leo, and that marks the summer solstice. So, what do you know about the summer solstice?
I really, I don't, I don't really know that much about the summer solstice. Jeez. And if I do, I'm not supposed to tell you. No, I'm just
Apparently,
kidding.
I was like,
Apparently,
apparently, man. You sure you
apparently.
don't need a cup of coffee, man?
I've got one right here.
I had to drink 2 cups of coffee just
It says
before.
leftist tears. That's funny. I just
Now, the
um, yeah, I don't know much about the solstices really, except for they cut things in half and the time changes.
oh,
As far as that goes.
what about the seasons? Do you?
Yeah, right. It's the light half and the dark half, right? And then the other one, the autumn or the
Mm-hmm.
winter solstice. That kind of marks the other point, right? As far
Right.
as I know. Other than that, you can do like meditations during those times.
Yeah, there you go. You know any good meditations that go according to seasons and stuff?
Um, Not necessarily, but I can tell you that I can feel when the seasons change. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Like if you don't even have any, like media or anything like that to look at or whatever, or TV or whatever, you
Mm-hmm.
can just like, and it's a feeling I can't even describe the feeling, and not just because it's hotter or colder, but because there's like the whole vibe changes kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually,
Yeah.
especially like on spring mornings. Now, the one thing I love about here in West Frankfort is like Southern Illinois. Like here, we have like awesome spring mornings, or we used to. Like
Yeah.
you'd wake up and the sun was just shining all nice and golden. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Birds are chirping and freaking. You know, you can even hear like a lot of birds basically, like, you know what I'm saying, like when you're sitting there and you're hearing all these birds going chip 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 all the
Right.
time.
They're having a bird meeting outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, I
like a,
mean,
a hall meeting for all the birds in the neighborhood. Yeah.
and like whenever it happens around here lately, man, it doesn't happen as much as what it did back when when I was younger. Whenever I used
Hmm.
to freaking visit up here, and
But the birds are active at night here a lot of times, and you hear them at night. It's just really, really weird. To me, it's really weird. I don't remember birds ever being that active during the nighttime,
yeah.
but they are. Hmm. It feels weird. I don't get it. I had to look it up and stuff. I'm like, what is up with all these birds right now at 2 in the morning?
We
Doesn't make any
have birds
sense.
at night too. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I was always used to like little frogs or some shit making noises and stuff of that
Right.
nature. But like the birds, they have been more active at night too. But it could be because of like the strange weather that's been going on here lately too. So.
I think it's because of the magnetism. Something has to do with all that. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure. Just like the cattle that was going in circles. It was a while back, but remember when everybody's like, "Why are all the sheep going in circles or whatever?" And they're just walking in circles, around in circles, and it like all over I guess the earth they were doing that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it has to do with radio frequency, something or another,
It could.
most likely.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot all about that, to be
If you
honest.
turn your phone on or make a call to a phone where there's like bugs, like ants or whatever kind of insect you would like to use in the experiment, but they'd be walking by, they'll all start walking in a circle around the phone when the phone is ringing. Then once it stops, they'll just keep going like normal. So
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that's probably the same effect on the cattle too. You know,
So with
freaky.
all of that, I'm gonna move to the next one. We covered
Sorry.
the Malapin, and this one is another part is called about the Malapin, and it says it gives a catalog of 71 stars and constellations of the three ways of the three stars each tradition. Now the ways is interesting, okay? Because that is what was termed for Enki, Enlil, and Anu. You remember how I told you where they were placed in the stars and stuff? They were
Yeah.
they were called the way, okay? And I find that interesting because like when you turn around and you look at like Christianity, they do the same thing. They use the term the way when it comes to Christianity.
Right.
Yahweh. You know what I mean? That's what Yahweh means.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
Oh,
The Yahweh thing, anyway.
what do you know?
No way, Yahweh. No. Uh, that. Well, this is from what I have gathered. That's well. First of all, it's going to go into a little bit off of the topic, but it goes. It's because of the Bible. The first part of it, like I guess the first half is like completely like contradicting itself. It's basically BS if you ask me. Because if you just read it, you'll be like, "We went to the store. We didn't go to the store." In the same like, it's like, well, what's going on here then? It's like it cancels each other out. It just it doesn't make any sense, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And the second one makes at least that makes sense. You know what I mean? Especially the red parts, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had some pretty amazing like synchronicity experiences with the Bible, but I won't get into that. It's a little far off topic, but yeah. So if you look at it that way, then I mean because Yahweh is like the first Bible dude. I mean, because it's obvious that no God is gonna be an asshole like that. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
So it's part of the ET thing, as far as I can tell. You know, he's like an ET dude that came and took over shit. Basically.
Sounds good.
Yeah, he's not a good dude. Put it that way. Not really a good dude.
Now
Not somebody
see,
you want to go have a beer with, really.
no, see, there are people who a long time ago who were Gnostic that believed that
Gnostics, yes.
yeah, the Gnostics believed that freaking the Creator God was actually evil. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, I'm on the Gnostic side then.
he was of the flesh. You know, like with Gnostics, they believed that everything that was flesh was evil. You know what I mean? So,
or it
that,
could be, I guess. But yeah,
no,
I know a little bit about Gnosticism. I would say I'm more Gnostic than anything else. I would
mm,
imagine, but I'm not too sure about the stories or the lore that goes with it, Sophia and all that.
well, I tell you one thing. A lot of this does have to do with the Book of Enoch. A
Oh,
lot, a
been
lot.
experience with that guy too.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
when you start talking about the Book of Enoch, that's where people start flipping out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, or where your computers get taken over by remote hackers for no reason.
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff, though. Yeah, it was kind of boring though because it's like, I mean, the cycles part, especially with and then it went by this time, and then the next day it was like this, and it's like I didn't really understand the point of all that. But.
Well, they
Yep.
get.
How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Not much.
Oh, hi,
Hey, Mark.
hi,
We
How
have.
you doing?
We're
good.
doing
How are
all
you?
right.
Hi.
We're
Book
talking.
of Enoch, huh?
We're talking
Book
about
of Jubilee,
astrology
Book of
right now.
Giants, Book of
Eh,
Jasher, all
Yeah.
those books.
What do you think? What's your take on all that?
I think they should have left them in. I don't think they should have took them out of the Bible. I don't think the Nicene Creed, I mean not Creed, but the Nicene Council should have done what they did. I understand, shrinking it down to make it, a book that everybody can carry it around and this, that, and the other. But hey, we can all go out and buy each individual book of the Bible separately. Why not, include it? And now that everything's online, it's time for them to rethink that.
Yeah. Now,
right. We could just go hand out that book at the grocery store, like at Walmart, give it to everybody walking out. I'm just saying, just a
Yeah.
thought.
now with a lot of this stuff though, I've been finding a lot of interesting things out. Not, people say that like they just decided. I believe that this was a it was a intended effort because like a lot of it has to do with astrology. A
Yep.
lot of it has to do with mysticism. Even
Yep.
in the Old Testament, you'll find parts of the Old Testament that just doesn't sound right, like you said, Sonia, where it's contradictory, and that's
Mm-hmm.
because even before Christianity, they were editing stuff and taking it out.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I'm sure. Mm-hmm.
there's a part in the Old Testament that mentions what is it? The age of the war of the lords. It talks about these lords who actually have a war amongst one another, and it's just a small part in the Old Testament, and
Yep.
it mentions it, but it doesn't go into any explanation. So there's a book out there that was lost,
Or intentionally destroyed.
right?
Right. There you
But
go.
there's proof
Um,
that it was there because that one little sentence is right there in the Old Testament, and it's still there today.
Right. Mm-hmm.
that's why I like, uh, listening to Paul Wallace. I don't know if you're familiar with Paul Wallace.
Let's see. Yeah,
Well,
the
Uh,
bald guy, right?
so he used to be a Catholic bishop, and his job was to instruct priests how to do their job and things like that. And the more he got into it, the more he is like, oh, this really isn't the meaning. And he's a linguist too. So, and he got,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So, when you start reading, the ancient scripts, Anunnaki means group. And, so,
I actually found out
oh,
Anunnaki is a part of the ancient Babylonian star charts. I was just talking about that before you came on.
yeah.
Like,
And, there's and they break it down on that on his podcast over on YouTube. Um, I used to catch that all the time when I could, but I can't get YouTube anymore.
You can't. Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm banned at the IP. They hate me.
Oh, really?
He
Wow.
probably
You must have really did something then.
he
Yeah,
probably
I
did.
just talked about the jab. That's all.
He,
Oh,
well,
wow. Yeah.
just let's just keep it down on that. We're on YouTube at the moment,
No,
Right, right, right,
so
right.
we're not just on Rumble and all them other ones. We're on YouTube and Twitch as well. So we're trying to be good.
okay.
So
I'm on. I'll be politically correct.
we'll be good. That's all I'm saying.
I don't like politically correct at all,
I don't
but
think there's a way of making any of it, you guys political correct. So
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
that's not
Whew.
gonna happen. No, no, no.
So what it we come to, we started talking about the Mullipen. This is the actual the first effort at making a precise zodiac, okay, an astro of the constellations, and it catalogs 71 stars and constellations. And we started talking about of the three ways, and I said that that's how the whole thing about
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
term the way started.
Right.
Now, the three stars each tradition was the original zodiac set up before this one, and it was actually the first one, and it had 18 constellations. By the time they got to the Mullipen, it ended up having 12 houses in the zodiac. So this is where it starts developing that until it finally makes it to the Greek.
Yeah,
Um, now, it's supposed to include dates of heliacal risings, pairs of constellations which rise and set simultaneously. So these are constellations that rise and set in the sky at the same time. They were keeping track of it. And pairs of constellations which are simultaneously at the zenith and at the horizon. So they're also looking at like whenever freaking the sun goes down or or the sun comes up. You know what I mean? Which ones are coming up at the same time?
Cool.
Um, then they also it has to do with the path of the moon and planets, uh, and it's a solar calendar. Now, I know they had the lunar calendar first, but this one is probably when the solar calendar started being used.
yeah. There, in fact, there's a huge, uh, was it cathedral or it was a chapel or something over in Turkey. It's kind of in ruins now, but when you go into it, it was one of the places that the Knights Templars had, and it has nothing but astronomy up on top for the what do they call them, the frescoes
Yeah.
in the dome,
Yes.
and it they're all Christ related, but they're still zodiac.
And
Zodiacal.
Yeah,
that's
astrological,
There you go.
not
well.
astronomy, but astrological.
No, I've actually a long time ago I've heard people saying that it's more scientifically correct if you use the word astrology instead of astronomy, and I didn't understand it at first until I went in and I looked at root words. Um,
I like root words.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, stop picking on my accent.
Use your
No, I do. I like root words.
words.
But astrology, actually, if you want to look at it at a scientific perspective about naming something, astrology would better fit what astronomy was supposed to be about. You know what I mean?
Right.
and it's vice versa. Like astronomy doesn't really fit in when it comes to naming, you know.
Astronomy is all about the study of why they're there,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Not, the meaning of them and when they come up, you know, or when they're seen, I should say.
Yeah,
Where,
it's
it's
safe to
the
teach in
it's the
schools.
earliest form of uh stargazing that
Right.
man has ever known.
Well, you look at it like this, okay? It has to do with stellar rising. You had planetary positions, and that was used to predict the weather and for adjusting calendars.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
And things like that too.
And
Yep.
then it's like telling time by the length of what they call them gnomons. It's the little points that stick up, and then you look at the shadow to determine what time it is in the
Like a
day.
sundial?
Yeah, like I said, that it is, but it's a sundial exactly, but it's that little um, kind of like rectangular thing that's poking up on the top.
Hmm.
It'll cast a
Okay.
shadow, and when it casts that shadow is what actually tells you the time. And that's why when we have not the digital clocks, but the ones with the arms,
Hmm.
when it gets to a certain point around that circular, uh, well, the circle,
It's call that the hitching stone.
yeah, that's why they do that. It's traditionally set up that way because that's how people used to tell time. When the shadow was in that at that angle, like 1 o'clock, that was 1 o'clock.
I know when it's when I get hungry at certain times of day, I can actually say, yeah, it's like noon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just messing with you, Roger.
well,
Thanks for sharing that.
well, I mean, I can
Yeah, I'm
actually.
sure
Very
that
intuitive.
has some sort of lunar, solar, and
Oh, it
other
might. It might.
effects. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Just like telling when the seasons change, kind of thing.
yeah. Because I crave a certain type of food. Then, yeah, that would probably be a good thing.
Well, this is a good
Right?
time to bring up. This is a good
It's good
time.
to know thyself.
This is a good time to bring up omens then, like like
Almonds.
like with astronomy or astrology. I'm sorry, got it mixed up. You know, like I said, at one time they used divination to uh, relate nature to the deities and stuff, and then freaking it went from there to looking at the stars. Okay, but it was always about omens and connecting with the appearance of stars. You know what I mean? And
Right?
planets. So like
So here's something we all know amongst us here that at one time in recorded history there was no moon.
mhm.
Okay, how did that change all that?
Well, I
How did that change? How did that change astrology the way it is now?
Indeed. Great question.
now
I don't know the answer to that one.
Me either. I'm dying to know.
there was a guy out
Well,
back
you don't
in
have to die.
19
Your choice.
in the 1950s or something. It was just before we finally was able to send a satellite to Venus and find out that it was hot. Now this guy had made theories that Venus was extremely hot. And nobody believed him, and he also believed that the Earth's or the planets vibrated, and everybody thought he was crazy.
Yep, that's true.
But what his theory was is he had this theory that the Earth was actually a moon of I believe it was Saturn or it was Jupiter maybe no Saturn because isn't Saturn the gas planet?
So is Jupiter.
Jupiter, okay, so
Both of those are gas planets, but only one has a hula hoop around it.
mm, now he theorized that another planet went through that gas planet, and it caused a ricochet effect that shifted Earth from there, because that was something that I was wanting to bring up here too, because Jupiter, which is probably the one that is being referred to, because it's always mentioned about Jupiter. If you notice, you know what I mean. Like in all of the main deities in history, was always represented by Jupiter. Look at
Hmm.
Marduk, or uh, yeah, Marduk. With the Babylonians, he was represented as Jupiter. I believe Zeus was also Jupiter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Um, there, and all of these deities were actually that were at the head of these pantheons were actually represented by Jupiter when it comes to astronomy or astrology. That
No,
that
no, no, hold on here. No, no, Saturn.
was it Saturn.
Uh,
Oh.
Saturn. That's where we get
Hmm.
Saturn, Satan, Saturn, and Santorina, and what's
Yes.
the other one? Um,
Well, I'm talking about head of the deities, though.
yeah, head of the
Chronos.
deities
Satan
for the
isn't
Greeks
number one. Okay,
was Saturn.
that was
Okay, and then it changed to Jupiter uh, because Juno is uh, what was it?
Gino.
Juno, yeah, Juno is a moon of Jupiter, and that's the wife
Juno.
of what was his name? I can't think of.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't Zeus, but it was the counterpart of Zeus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that where they, huh?
I don't remember either
Yeah,
the
that
name.
was the counterpart, and well, maybe his name was Jupiter. It's like, but
Possibly.
yeah, but either way, yeah, that was the two distinctions between the Greek and the Roman, because the, they switched planets in this as the deities.
okay. No, you guys need to talk a little bit because I've got to run to the bathroom. I will be right back.
Okay.
Okay, so have a conversation, and I mean, I would not usually do this, but I got to do this.
Emergency.
Yes.
Okay, so now that he's gone, we can talk about stuff. No, just kidding.
So what kind of stuff we want to talk about?
I don't know. Stuff that we're not supposed to talk about.
Uh, you know. Hey,
I'm a
the
winnable.
cat's away, the mice play. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Um.
If
Well,
we're gonna do that, we do it in front of him.
I, I do have two more. I have two paranormal shows right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about that. You're
I
all
might not. Go
yeah.
ahead. I
Jack
because I'm
Carey.
subscribed, but
Yeah,
need
Jack
some.
Carey takes and does Paranormal Intelligence Agency, which is more
Okay,
of
I did see that one.
a show.
That looked interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a cryptozoologist, and he's into the hitchhiker effect and a lot of other things. We had on Joshua Shapiro last week, and we talked crystal skulls. And then
Okay.
we
I didn't.
had, and the next show that I have is Cafe Enigma. And it's kind of paranormal, but not always paranormal. Um,
What
we
was that one?
we just talk about mysterious and unknown and weird stuff there. And we had, who was it? Brian. What was his?
Can you
What's?
see my crystal skull?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a whole necklace.
that's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joshua has a whole bunch of. He has one. Rosalita, and I can't even pronounce the other one, but he's got lots of them, and he's actually held the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull too.
Yeah.
So that's like the big smoky quartz one that's out there.
And Mark, I want to apologize too because like towards the end of your guys' stream, I started talking a little bit about politics, and you had asked everybody not to do that with that one guy
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
So
Well, that person didn't actually show up that was supposed to. He
okay,
had, so we kind of lucked out on that.
okay,
But Brian is a little bit more open to that stuff because he'll jump conspiracy with that.
yeah. Well,
All right.
I was thinking it
And
was what's his name, the older guy.
but
The
yeah, but no, no, no. It's Peter Robbins,
okay,
uh, who's did a lot with Fire in the Sky and Rendlesham Forest, and that he's done a whole lot of like documentation for that, and interviewed each of the people with all of that as well. So he, he's really a lefty, but he's a really nice guy. I've had him
The
on
lefty.
before. He's really smart. He's a professor, an art professor uh, out in California, but he does more than that. I'm not. I'm not sure if he teaches art anymore, if he's teaching something else. He might be doing journalism now for all the stuff that he does. He does a lot of journalistic work, Peter Robbins. So,
I got a good
but
story about Fire in the Sky. It's a true story.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
quick.
go
Want to hear
ahead.
it?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
When I first met Jeff Willis, my ex-husband, the one that is the UFO guy. Well, okay, so that was the first time UFOs ever kind of. I mean, I had little alien dolls and stuff and like a T-shirt, but it was, I didn't never seen a UFO till then. But in any case, so we started hanging out and stuff, and we were moving into this house, and and this was kind of when we first kind of got together. So we got married pretty quick, but uh, so we rented a U-Haul, right? And this U-Haul, okay, of all the U-Hauls in the world, we rented this U-Haul, and we're like, well, there's some stuff in the back here. What's back here? And it was a big poster of Fire in the Sky, and I was like, yeah, it was a trip.
That was pretty
What
quick.
are the chances? Yeah. So I
Okay,
just
so
want to share that.
let me tell you what this older zodiacal constellation thing
Zodiacal.
is. Yeah, I have a hard time saying
Well,
it. Now, if any of these stick out to you and you want to talk about it, just jump right in because a lot of them actually does make sense. Now, we were talking about the star cluster, the Star of Stars, and that had to do with we were just talking about it too, but it was supposed it was supposed to be important. I know that, but
Hmm.
anyhow, this is Mal. Now, Mal is also called Zappa, and it's the the star cluster or the Star of Stars, Pleiades. And Pleiades had to do with uh, the bull, was it? It was Taurus, right?
I think so.
Yeah, Forestable.
Yeah. Now, the Star of Stars or the Bristol. Now, that's Mal. Nope. And that would be the Western equivalents of the Pleiades. Okay. No. Okay. Yeah, I got it right here. Now that is not. That's not that. That would be the Pleiades by itself. Then for the second one, it's called Malgu 4, which is also on. Malgu 4 on na. So Anna comes from that root word. Whenever you hear the name Anna, that's where it's coming from. It's ancient Sumerian, I believe, and in Babylonian and Assyrian, it goes Alu, Li, like L-E, and that is the bull of heaven. Okay. Now, the Western equivalence of that is Taurus and Hyades, or I believe it's spelled wrong. It could be Hades, Hyades,
Right. It's probably Hades.
because that's
That's
probably
how I would
what it
pronounce
is.
it.
Now, uh, that one right there is the Bull of Heaven. We already talked about it. And then we come to another one. It's called Mausipa Ziana, Anna. Okay, and that's Sidaru or Sidalu, and that's the loyal shepherd of heaven. Okay, that's the loyal shepherd of heaven. Does that sound familiar to you?
It does not.
You don't know who the shepherd is in
Yeah, right.
Christianity?
It's the shepherd.
Yeah, they talked about shepherds. Yeah.
The shepherd is Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Now that would be
Okay, the shepherd.
the Western equivalence of Orion. Okay,
Hmm.
the Orion, and then you had the Pleiades, and then Andromeda was mentioned, right? Now, what stood out to me was this loyal shepherd of heaven, and according to astrology, uh, the constellation of Orion would be the equivalence of that. And you'll hear a lot of people in the more pseudo areas, you know what I mean, that they'll say that Jesus was actually an alien from outer space.
Right. Right. There's a lot of correlations to the Bible and stuff like that. UFOs and all.
You know, I,
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I do find it odd that the loyal shepherd of heaven is also representing the Orion. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that did stick out to me. Is Mark still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm
Yeah.
listening.
Okay, I just wondered if you was. Now, the next one after that one is Molsu Gi or Cebu, and that means the old one. Okay. Now,
Right.
now that one is the Western equivalence of Perseus. You guys remember the story of Perseus?
Yep. Yep.
Vaguely.
He's the one that cut the Gorgon's head off, Medusa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I've done some Medusa tattoos, so
you like Medusa, don't you?
no.
Yeah, right.
I'm good. I'm good.
You're a
I'm
chick.
fine.
All
I got
chicks.
enough problems, so I'm good on all that.
All,
Really.
all chicks like Medusa, dude. It's like that. That's
Really?
yeah. Most of them do. They're like, heck yeah, dude.
I
Cause
even didn't even want to do a Medusa tattoo. I was like, I don't know if I even want to jack with all that. You know what I mean?
mhm.
That's kind of how I feel about it. So, you know?
Now, on this next one, it's called Mazubi or Malgam 3, which is Gamlu, and that's the scimitar or the crook. Well, croak or croc maybe Crook. And
Right?
now that's the Western equivalence of Auriga. I've never heard of Auriga, so
Me neither.
Auriga. So
Mm.
that's probably one of the extras when I was telling you that the constellations were 18 back then, and then it was
Mm-hmm.
reduced down to
Right.
12.
Right. I remember hearing about
Auriga.
Osifer, Osif, Ophilius.
Iris.
Osiris.
If
Ophilius.
it, yeah, it's OPPHI. It's the 13th sign. Ever heard of that?
OPP.
No? Yeah, Ophilius. It's a long word. Anyway, go on. It's obviously not pertaining.
Okay, now we have Malmus Tabba, which is Golgol, and that's Masu or Tuamu Rabutu, and that's the Great Twins. Okay, now
Okay.
the Great Twins are the Western equivalents of Gemini.
Right.
Okay, so we've got that. And then we have Malal, which is a Lutu, and that's the crayfish. And the crayfish is the Western equivalent of Cancer.
Cancer. Yeah. Should let me guess. I can guess that one.
Okay, you know much about
Uh,
cancer? About the
yeah. Well, I've lived with people who were like cancers for like my kids,
well,
etc., etc.
tell me
My
about.
mom's a Taurus. My kids, I have two kids that are Taurus.
Oh, do
And
you?
I have, yeah, and my
Lucky you.
dad's a Cancer. They get
Right?
along really well,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
really, but
No, they don't.
no,
Well,
they don't.
cancers are
Cancer and
water,
Taurus do not get along. Uh,
really.
they, you know,
Tauruses aren't that easy to get along with anyway, if you ask
no,
me.
neither is
Especially guy Tauruses.
Cancer. You have to get past her shell, you know. And Taurus is just too damn bullheaded about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now this next one kind of gets complicated because it's actually split into two. Okay. Now it's Muller Gula, or you can go by Muller Ma. Now that is also or Gulu or Nesu, and one of it means for one the creator or the lion. Okay. Now that is the Western equivalent of Leo.
Right.
Okay, so Leo isn't only the lion, but he's also the creator. I found that interesting. You guys
Right. Well, the Leo, the sign of Leo, people are very creative. They're Leos. Absolutely.
tell me about it. What do you know about Leos?
Um, I know that they're, I don't know, orange comes to mind, and they're just very, very creative, highly driven, and kind of bossy sometimes, but not so much. That's just on the on the negative side, or if they have to, they can be bossy, I suppose.
I like to
Yeah.
say grumpy.
Huh?
Grumpy is what it is. They get
Grumpy.
grumpy. They don't get angry and bossy. They're just grumpy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's just the sun sign too. I mean, because like the chart that I sent you, there's all kinds of other influences that you would have besides just the sun sign. And there's so many people that have that sun sign. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm. Well, see, I like it because if have you ever heard of Shamash?
I don't think so.
Okay, now Utu Shamash was the sun god of the ancient Sumerians, and he was cool as hell. He was the brother of Ishtar, back and her other name is Inanna. So like it was pretty cool.
Okay.
And, that's the one thing that I liked about it. Like when you go and you see these gardens with those sun emblems that are always
Hmm.
up in their gardens.
Hmm.
If you ever notice it,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
what was you saying, Mark?
I said that's what that symbolizes.
That's exactly what that symbolizes, and it's been around since the beginning. I mean, they've always been doing that stuff. No, this is every day. You drive down the road and you see them sitting in somebody's garden, and nobody even thinks about it. You know what I mean? But this stuff,
Right. There's a lot of things like that.
it's pretty amazing, actually.
Hmm.
So now we have Malabs Sin 3 or Absinu or Seru. And that is the seed furrow. And you won't guess who the seed furrow is.
Um, Aquarius.
No. It's actually freaking
Virgo.
the Western equivalents of Virgo. Yeah, you're right. You hit it right there on the second
Seed.
part.
Virgo. Virgin.
I was going to say Capricorn.
Well, Virgo. Okay, I stopped and thought about it. It took me a little while, but like pregnant women, what I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
virgins,
The
Yeah.
sea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
and
a Virgo, by the way. And Roger, you are a Virgo rising,
really,
which explains a lot of your, shuffling of all these shows you do.
yeah.
I'm a Libra with Scorpio rising.
Ooh, ooh, oh my.
It's getting a little hot up in here.
Oh, well, Scorpio guys, for one, they're like, whoa. They're like, like I don't want to get stung. You know what I mean? I keep them. They're I've known a few Scorpio guys, definitely, and ascendant has a lot to do with your personality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Libra. But my daughter's father was a Libra actually, and it's really the only Libra guy.
Where all my indecisiveness comes from,
A
Libra.
little bit, yeah, huh?
But
Not
when
wanting to settle on one thing or
but
the
when
other.
I take and make a decision, Scorpio kicks in, and it's
Oh
full
yeah,
blast all from there.
right. Oh, I bet. And nobody really knows about it because the
No.
secretiveness of Scorpio, the mysteriousness of Scorpio, definitely. Yeah, usually it makes dudes more,
I
more.
think I still have my star chart around somewhere. I should.
Yeah.
Now the ancient names for Libra is Malzi Ba'ana and then Zibanitu, and that's for that means the scales.
The scales. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you have another name too, which is Malgus Aaron 2. So that's kind of weird about
It's an
that.
Egyptian name for it. I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
The
Uh, but Toth used us very well.
we they
That's another story altogether
not
there,
Toth,
huh?
not Toth, but what was his
I was
name?
gonna say.
to what?
Anubis
Oh,
used us
Anubis, yeah.
Oh, Anubis,
because
that
we
too. I
made
did some
souls.
Anubis tattoos. Yeah, I don't know too much about him, but
Now, see, like these names that stick out to me, like I hear the name Anna, and then I like here in Libra with the ancient words, you get Aaron, okay, because it's Malgus Aaron 2. Aaron comes out of that, and
mm-hmm.
then like that's the sign for Libra. Now, what exactly is Libra? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just the scales, right? The weighing of the scales,
Mm-hmm.
And
right?
it's a water sign.
Yeah.
Liver's water, really?
Yeah, Libra is a water sign, and Scorpio is
Wow.
a fire sign. So I guess I
Yeah,
mix themes somewhere in between.
yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
It seems like you might be a little bit at battle with yourself at times, huh?
Oh, that's why the indecisiveness, you know.
So, yeah, right. There you go.
Now,
Yeah.
then we have the Mulgar 2 tab, and that is also spoken Zikwakipu, and
Oh,
that is the cutter. Now, the Western equivalent is that is Scorpius. So,
right.
so what do you guys know about Scorpius? I know.
Oh, hypnotic. Well, they are.
Right. Yeah, I would say so. Usually alluring.
It Scorpio has
Yeah.
to do with influence a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's some sexy ones. They got
Yes, there are. Yes,
Not always, but
no, not always.
it's how our eyes meet. You know?
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be what do they call that in role playing? They have oh my god, I'm having a brain fart. Shit.
It's 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 not dominance, it's charm.
There you go.
No,
Charming. Yes, there you go.
in your
That's a good
stats.
word.
In your stats is what I was thinking of.
That's
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 not dominance. It's
but
charm.
but to me but to me you know I
Look, you
don't
got me fixing my hair.
see myself
I
as
don't
any
know
of
what's
those.
going.
I
It's
see
like a
myself
subconscious thing.
I see myself more as a person who not a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see myself.
A facilitator.
A facilitator.
Okay.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I can bring people together and I can get them to talk.
Man, I wish I had a freaking
And I
stat
don't
sheet.
always like to initiate it, but I know the right people to do that, like you, Roger.
Yeah. I wish I had a stat
Right.
sheet right now because then you'd know what I'm talking about. Though it's not initiative. It keeps popping in my head with initiative, and it's not that. But it has to do with your
Intuitiveness.
not intuitive. You've never played D&D, have you?
Yes, I have.
It's not stamina. It's not
I
strength.
always won.
It's oh
You have
god,
wisdom, intelligence, charisma.
charisma. There you go. Bam, you
Is
hit it. I wish you would.
I'm not very charismatic,
Charisma is a part of that.
uh,
Chari-
but I'm not very charismatic. I
charisma
don't, I don't, I don't consider myself that.
charisma
Right.
is kind
Maybe
of like
that's it.
what you just said, where you have the ability to bring people together and stuff like that. You're able to influence people. You know.
Uh, Not really influence them. I can just bring them together
And
and
allow them to influence each other.
allow them to influence others.
Right.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
charisma.
No,
And
charisma is when you directly influence others by your sight, appearance, and
it has
sound,
to do with charm too, right? A
smell.
little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it is part of charm.
yeah.
It seems like it to me.
Charm. Yeah.
Let's here, I'll look it up.
Now,
A rare personal quality attributed to leaders who arouse fervent popular devotion and enthusiasm, personal magnetism or charm.
see, yeah.
I don't see people drawn to me. All right.
People love you, dude. What are you talking about?
Right.
Right.
Are you
But
serious?
once they get to know me, I guess with me.
I can't believe you just
The
said that, dude.
Scorpio in me says they
They're
better
like, well,
stay.
you're my mom calling me.
You know,
Oh,
get the sting. You know.
yeah, right.
Okay,
Anywho.
so that kind of threw me.
Right. Roger's like, whoa. Here, let's turn the boat back around.
No,
And,
no.
and what's really interesting about this whole thing too is, when you talk about astrology and astronomy and behaviors and things like that, uh, I always like to, personalities go along with that too.
Hmm.
All right, I'm an ISTJ. All right, which is like one of like a 1% of all the population on Earth. uh, it's usually those people are usually like the great thinkers because they don't usually make things happen, but they know the people and have the tools to do it. I haven't found that out other than my success with what I've been doing here late, for the last probably 17, 18 years now
Yeah.
with my radio shows.
ISTJ. That's
Yeah.
the personality thing, right?
Yep.
But you see,
Yeah,
that's like
I don't remember what I am.
when you start getting into
Yeah.
this stuff, though, it allows you to open up and
I'm
be more
I'm very
creative.
introverted. I'm very introverted. Yeah. But not on the radio.
Right. Like you get in here and all of a sudden you can talk to
Yeah.
anybody.
I can talk because in my mind I don't see I hear voices, but I don't relate that to a person directly in front of me.
So
In
you're
my
used to hearing voices, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I just hear voices in my head. Yeah.
Just joking.
That's how my 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 psych doctor like
Right. See,
this
there
when
you
you're
go.
so introverted. I'm even leaving the house. I'm like, yeah, but in my head, you know, as far as I know, everybody that I talk to could be AI.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Now,
You are
now you're getting
right.
in. Now you're getting into the best part right here. So,
Yeah.
right here it says
I wouldn't be surprised.
Malpa Biltu Sag, and that's Pavel Sag. That's the. This is the interesting thing right here. Now this is the god Pavel Sag or the overseer. Now this gets into a lot of what you guys always talk about. Now the Western equivalence of that is Sagittarius. So
Right.
I kind of see that as
My
kind of
grandmother's a Sagittarius, and she's the most wonderful person I've ever met in the world.
overseer. Is she an overseer?
And she is an overseer. Yes, she is.
She's an overseer.
And she had, and and she has a small voice, but a lot of dominance.
Right.
That right there stuck out to me.
When you talk to her, you know she's the leader.
Okay, now we have Mosuher, Mostu, and that is also said Sahur Masu, and that is the goatfish. And of course, we know what the Western equivalence of that is. That's Capricorn.
Right. Yeah.
So, you guys know anything about Capricorns?
Mm, wait, what months are that? I always forget.
It's January, end of December, and first part of January, right? For sure.
Yep.
It's right in there somewhere.
Mm,
I had a friend, like a girlfriend, who I kind of grew up with, who was a Capricorn. And since then, I don't know, Capricorns are kind of weird nowadays to me. But, you know,
I keep thinking of acorns every time I hear the word Capricorn, like acorns. You know.
that's only if if you use that. That's only if we use the 12 zodiacs, not the 13.
Oh, okay.
right.
There's a 13th zodiac in
Oh,
some
oh,
zodiacs.
oh, ficus.
Yeah, and
That was
it,
it.
it's
That's how you say it. Something like
it
that.
is kind of like the blank rune in the Farthic runes.
Right. I know a little about the Futhark. Yeah, definitely. They've got them
Elder
tattooed on
Farthic
me and
runes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Totally
See,
elder.
you guys are coming up.
Absolutely.
You guys are coming up with some great content here. This
Oh,
is
ficus. I think that's how you say it.
Osificus.
Yeah, there's no
It
S
mean
except for
it
the
mean
A.
I think it means darkness or something
Oh,
like.
fucus. I think it's fucus or something. Um, serpent bearer. You know.
That's cool.
But what its symbol is the I think its symbol is the interlocked serpent, where the serpent's
Um,
biting its tail.
Now, are you?
there's a dude standing on a. I'm sorry, he's standing on a scorpion. Believe it or not, holding a serpent.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really. It looks like it's kind of old, like the symbol or
Mm-hmm.
depiction.
It's one of the
Serpent
most
bearer.
ancient. It's one of the most ancient ones that are out there.
Why is it missing? Why isn't it in the? I
I
wonder.
think because that probably might have happened after we during the time when the Earth shifted from its normal spin to the 45-degree angle spin that we have today.
Hmm.
All right, that's me thinking that. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that that line of uh, observing the astrological pro, progression through the stars ended with that.
Yeah.
But it's making a comeback.
Well, I guess they use a lot in sidereal astrology, which I kind of like that a little bit
Yeah.
better. It makes more sense
And
to me because it's
in some draconic uh, dragon line um, readings, they'll have that as well.
Hmm.
right. Uh-huh.
Now,
You know,
we have the Aquarius too. Now, this one is very interesting, and this one I think is something that's worth talking about with Aquarius because that's Malgu La, Sinudu, or Kukurku, or Ramanu. Now, this means the Great One, and it's the Western equivalence of Aquarius. Okay, now the Great One. What does that say to you guys when you hear that?
Like the great year,
Mark.
at least from where we're at now.
Now there's a lot of references that is always mentioned in these. Like you've got the great one. Then you have, I think there's one that's also in here that also relates to the ancient one. I believe that's also in it. It's probably not in this one, but I do know that I remember that, and I've noticed that with a lot of them, like the great one, and no, the old one. That was the one that we just seen, wasn't it? And then
I think
you
so.
I think it was the old one, um,
Hmm.
and then there was another one in here that mentions. Well, we were just seeing it about the overseer, and then you had the great one, and that's what sticks out to me. And a lot of this stuff is mentioned in like old religious texts too, and folklore and everything. That's what really
Hmm.
sticks out to me on a lot of it.
Yeah,
But
totally.
Aquarius, like what exactly is Aquarius? What's their function in astrology?
Um, the
Because
water bearer, right?
everybody always talks about the age of Aquarius. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But what really is it?
Well, I
Um,
think they
go ahead.
they talk about with that is the age of emotion, love, and feeling uh, in modern society. Now, it probably goes far deeper than that when you look at it from a intellectual and educational look at it. You know what I'm saying? Say if you look it up for a definition, that's going to be totally different, especially when you start looking at the history of it. But
As long
like
as you don't look at Wikipedia,
this,
you'll be okay.
the 70s, and on up into that, the dawning of Aquarius. Yeah, uh,
Yeah, it's a great song.
yeah.
Age of
Yeah,
Aquarius.
it's the ending of a cycle,
Thank-
a 25,000 year cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And like this great one, like we've had a lot of people who've been called messiahs. They've been called great prophets. You know, all Gandhi, Buddha. You got Jesus. You've got freaking who else? I'm running out of names here. You know, one.
Sonya,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah. There you go.
Roger.
But you know what I'm saying? You have all of these people who were like, if you really take an honest look at it, like look at our modern religions today, okay, and compare them to the older ones. We were just talking about sacrificial animals. You know what I mean? And sacrificing freaking animals for their livers
Freaking
so that you could
you,
observe their livers and see what nature is going to bring or the future is going to hold.
grody. So grody.
That was so cool. Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
come on, dude.
okay, like, yeah, totally.
No, I mean
Not.
I'm not contributing to the idea of sacrificing animals. I don't think that it's cool. You know what I mean?
Right? Well,
Earlier
that's good.
earlier what I was saying though there is like there is a time difference. Like comparing today's world to those times is like you wouldn't be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not saying.
Well, in Western society, no.
Mm-mm. So
Okay, but in other societies, it's still practiced.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the Jewish guys and the red cap or whatever, red bull.
Well, you have that, and
no,
you also have what's the the Buddhist or one with all the
There's that other one that we've all
destroyer
heard about,
creator. I can't remember Shiva.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Shiva, Hindu.
uh,
Hinduism.
yeah. That's a blood sacrifice.
Um, I don't know. Do they do that today? I don't know. I'm not so much
In
into
certain countries, in certain
Yeah,
places, they still.
that's really gross. They're like, that's not even cool. In my opinion, it's not cool at all.
Like
I
they
can't-
still
I mean, but But there's like, I mean, we have like hamburgers from McDonald's. I mean, what's the difference really? At least those guys get some sort of a special attention,
Well,
you
see,
know?
well, like with these animals too, like everybody has this
Cows here don't.
misconception that these sacrificial animals were just wasted, and they weren't. Like they actually took the meat, and they, after they did the sacrifices, it went to the temples and to the people who were a part of
And the
those.
livers went to the Sears. No, just kidding.
Um, there's nothing wrong with freaking good liver.
That's
You know,
so disgusting. Ew,
I
It
mean,
tastes
ew.
like shoe leather. Ugh.
you buy liver at the
It's
store, dude.
gross.
No, I won't.
Well, I'm not saying you in particularly, guys. Okay,
So
I'm
no, I
saying,
won't.
saying,
Sure, you can
How
buy.
dare you tell me that?
Saying that it's, you can buy poinsettias. Do you think I'm going to eat them? They're poisonous, right?
That's true. That's a good point. I see. That's just logical. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Sensible.
Now we have Malcolm Mess, and then Molzab Me, and that is Zibatu or Zibat Sinenutu, and that is the tails. That would be the Western equivalent of Pisces. You guys have any?
Right.
You guys have anything on Pisces? Any juicy stuff?
Any juicy stuff? Well, my ex, the UFO guy, was a Pisces, or is still a Pisces, actually. It
Mm-hmm.
changed. Um, and Pisces are, well, they say they're like dreamy and all that. And I don't know. I don't really have much experience with Pisces, I guess.
They're like the dreamy guys in the suits that pretend to freaking be off of like romantic movies and shit, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Not my experience, okay?
Or
No. Yeah.
that could be uh, a good thing to look up and find out what a Pisces really is, because I know they're supposed to be ladies, like on the Ladies Man. Like, have you ever watched that movie, The Ladies Man?
Really?
That's
I've
funny.
never heard that about
Yeah.
Pisces.
Like they're supposed to be like really attractive, and women just love them.
Where'd you hear that at?
I
You
didn't.
know?
I'm just making it up.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I was
so
gonna say 'cause I never heard that
this this kind of goes into what you guys were talking about with the 13th one, for what I've read. It's a Milsum to Ma, and it's also pronounced Senunutu, and that is the Great Swallow. That would be the Western equivalents of Southwest Pisces and Epsilon Pegasi.
Hmm.
So that
Pegasi. Cool.
you know, Epsilon Pegasi, and that's also the Southwest Pisces. So when you're looking up in the sky where freaking Pisces is, there'd be the southwest part of that.
Hmm. Okay.
And then we've only got two more left. You got another one, and it has two different separate names altogether. This is Mula Nunitum or Malulu Lem, and that's also said like Anuniti or Lelumu, and that's the goddess Anunitu or the stag. Okay. Now the western equivalence of that is northeast Pisces and Andromeda. So,
Okay.
you guys know much about Andromeda or Pisces?
Uh, Andromeda, not too much as opposed to other stuff.
And it was like I was saying earlier. It's weird how it mentions Andromeda. Then you have the Pleiades that was also mentioned, and what was the other constellation?
Orion.
Orion. Yeah.
That's one.
And ufologists always mention those freaking constellations, except maybe not Andromeda as much.
Yeah, that's kind of but it's still mentioned.
Yeah, it is mentioned. I find that pretty interesting.
It's further away, apparently, from what is said. You know.
Now, another thing that was strange for me is this last one. It's Malutu and Hugatu, and that's how they pronounce it. And it's Agru. Okay, is how it's pronounced back in the old days. All right, and that means the farm worker. So agriculture,
Uh-huh.
Agru.
That makes sense.
That's the root word for it. But you won't guess who the Western equivalence for that is. That's Aries.
Oh, wow. Actually, that that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah.
Aries, Aries is a farm boy.
Aries. There's something else.
You know much about Aries, Sonya?
Well, I've had experience with
I have
Aries
an older
men.
son that's an Aries. He's
Oh,
something.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they're very go getters. They're really
focused.
yes, they
Very
can be very
focused. Yeah,
focused
go
and
getter. Yes, very
yeah,
good.
they don't play around too much. Well, I guess they do, but when they do that, they're still very
When they
focused.
party hardy.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Farm workers, country boys.
Yeah, they're not super emotional either, really. I mean, everybody is to a certain extent, but they're not known
I'm
for being
sorry.
emotional.
I'm sorry. It wasn't a son of mine. It was an ex-wife of mine.
You're so funny.
Her son's the Leo. Yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
son.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I about Aries women, I don't really
Oh,
have any
Aries
experience with
women,
Aries women.
very mm,
I
That's
probably wouldn't want to get in a fist fight
fire.
with one.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. Fire. Everything is fire. Burn it and
Yeah,
torch it
it's a
for
me
good
me me
or
sign
bad. We're gonna if it's a square hole, we're gonna put a triangle in there and force
for
it in.
sure, for
You know,
sure.
it'll work. Believe me,
Yes,
it's
it
gonna
will work
called
because
Apollo
eventually.
13, man. That's called Apollo. Isn't it? Apollo 13 was the one that went kapooey, right? And they had to come up with a way of getting back home.
I don't know.
They had to
I
fix.
remember the Challenger one that they lied about. But that's about it.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's hear about the one
Mm.
that they lied about.
Oh, you ever heard of that?
Oh, you're talking about Challenger, the one that exploded?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now the tail and the gray swaller um, have also been read as a single constellation, the tail and the swaller, which is Pisces. Okay. Now this is the source of the uncertainty over the numbers of constellations, 17 or 18, in the Babylonian zodiac, because like I said, they merged them together to come down to 12 constellations, but they don't know for sure if it was actually 17 or 18 of them because um, later on the tail and the great swaller were put together. You know what I mean? The tail and the swaller.
Right.
So
Interesting.
there's a little bit of uncertainty there. That was one thing I did find out. Now I also found out that all constellations of the Iron Age, the 12 sign zodiac, are present among all of the older ones, the ones that was part of the 18 sign zodiac. Uh, Most of them with names that are clearly identified, um, um, while some that reached Greek astronomy uh, were or had altered names. You know, the
okay. Here's something for you. You have 12 zodiac signs, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 and you
Yeah,
also
we're in the 12 zone,
12
12
you
planet.
had 12 disciples.
well, see, this is where numerology comes in. This is where
Yep. Exactly. There you go.
Sonia is really good at this stuff. So,
Well, I don't know about really good, but I've done a little bit of it.
okay,
You know.
so 12. What does 12 mean according to numerology?
Well, as far as I know, and it's not like the what's it called, the the stuff that they use in the grim That one, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The Grimardi.
Grimoire. The
No,
Grimoire.
the
The
Grimoire.
Grimoire.
No, that's grammar. Did you know that that's like grammar means
Yep.
grimoire?
Yep.
Weird. But no, it's the gematria. That's okay. So I'm not talking about gematria. As far as that goes, I'm not sure really about all that. That's very extensive to me. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm just talking about numerology, just basic 1 through 10 or 1 through 9 numbers, and then
Uh-huh.
the double up for the vibe, and then stuff
Well,
like that.
well, let's break it down. What does one mean?
One is independence
Mm.
first. It's being lonely.
uh, now,
Depends on how you look at it, but yeah, it's independence.
now, doesn't it also have to do with the monad and all of that? And the number one
Um,
is like the. I know with Pythagoras, he had his tetraract or whatever they call that, where
Tesseract.
yeah,
Tesseract.
the tesseract, yeah, and,
Tesseract.
and then like one meant well, actually no, you're gonna have to force me into pulling it up.
Right.
I used to, or I have all them notes everywhere, but I keep forgetting to actually keep them going. While
Yeah.
I'm
As far
streaming and
as
stuff.
And all the Tesseract points also are, what do they call them? I just had it at the tip of my tongue there. For holistic medicine, your chakras.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Each one, there are more than just the core chakras when you
Right.
go into the Tesseract. That explains all that.
yeah.
Yeah. See, my numerology is kind of like the Pythagoras stuff. I don't. I know that he made numbers or something like that. I mean, I really don't even know much about that. So basically, mine is just all about being able to know the vibe and of is it your life lesson number, is it your destiny number, so basically it's someone's name numerology and their life lessons with their birth date. That's really kind of all where I know numbers from. And oh, I did have an experience with numbers, and that was a long time ago, but it was a freaky one. And yeah, and I don't think that I'm not going to mention it here.
Well,
Maybe I'll tell you later on or
you gotta
something.
tell us some good stuff. Come
It's
on.
yeah, it was just so freaky that I'm like whoa, like whoa, like whoa. It's like it has to do with like like when I first started like seeing some weird ass shit, and that kind of numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
since you're not gonna say anything, I'm gonna say
go
how
ahead.
how
Sorry.
names were altered. Like Furrow became Virgo. Okay. And
Really?
yeah.
There's my zodiac reading right there.
Okay. Now Pavelsag became Sagittarius. Then Great One became Aquarius. Swallowtail became Pisces,
Mm,
and Farm Worker was reinterpreted as Aries. So just
right.
just going back
That's
over
cool.
it. Now
Yeah.
Virgo and her main star Spica have Babylonian presidents. Believe it or not, the Mount Apen associates Absin, the furrow, with the Sumerian goddess Shala on and on boundary stones of the Kassite era. Shala is conventionally depicted as holding a length of grain.
Mm-hmm.
So, regarding Sagittarius, Pavelsag is a comparatively obscure Sumerian god later identified with Ninurta, another name for the constellation of Nebu, the soldier. Okay, so that's what we got there. And then Aquarius is the water pourer, and he represents Ea, a water god, dubbed the Great One in the Mount Apen. So, Ea, which is Enki, is the water god, and he's the Great One. So that's where the Great One comes from. So this is where they come up with the whole idea of uh, the Judaic belief in God, where they're saying that uh, when they say El or Ia, they're saying freaking that Jesus is actually Enki. Because I've heard of that being mentioned too. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that'll say that it's Enlil as well, but and it,
Right.
but I've actually heard people talk about the reference to Ea, because Ea and Enki are the same ones.
Right.
And also that takes me into Poseidon as well, because like in the Greeks, with the Greek um, pantheon, before Zeus was around, Poseidon was the freaking ruler of all the gods, and he was also the water god. So that kind of gets me in that area. So I've already gone over Aquarius, and that's directly related to Enki, which is pretty cool, I guess. Aquarius, the water pourer, represents Ea, the water god, dubbed the Great One in the Malapin. It contained the winter solstice in the early Bronze Age. In Greek astronomy, he became represented as simply a single vase from which a stream poured down to Piscis Astrinus. The name in the Hindu zodiac is likewise Zumba, water pitcher, showing that the zodiac reached India via Greek intermediaries. And I've actually brought that up too in a conversation that I had on a Jaffe show. Now, like a lot of people have their theories about Buddhism, you know what I mean, and Hinduism, especially over in India, because India has like this nationalist movement going on where they want to try to make it seem like their religions came right from India and it didn't come from another source, you know, um, and they don't. This nationalist group doesn't want to recognize that their religious beliefs was influenced by the Greek. They don't want to even admit that there was any kind of Indo-European influence involved in it. You know what I mean? And that is one thing that I noticed too when it comes to like Buddhism. Now, Buddhism, they have a certain time date on it, but if you actually look at the research, you'll find out that Buddhism actually goes farther back than what they're trying to say it is in India, because you can find caves that are up in Afghanistan and Pakistan of Buddhas on the walls in paintings. The only problem with that is they have an issue about these Buddhas being represented with red hair, you know, and I mean they've got old documentaries on this stuff from back in the 80s and 90s. If you guys want to check it out, you know what I mean. They're everywhere, and I've been doing a lot of research when it comes to Indo-European and Indo. They actually call them Indo-Aryans at one time, but then they changed the name, you know, to Indo-Europeans. But the migration patterns and where these Indo-Europeans actually came from and where they went to, you know, and there's tons of evidence showing that Hinduism and Buddhism was actually influenced by Indo-Europeans from migration patterns in ancient DNA. You know, so that's the kind of stuff right there that makes me think when I see this part that I just read. You know, it sticks out to me quite a bit. These are the kind of weird stuff that I get into that nobody else wants to talk to me
No one
about.
else wants to talk about it, huh?
Right. I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody does. But Greek, Greek influence, when it comes to the Hindu zodiac, you know, who from India that believes in Hinduism wants to listen to somebody say that the Greeks influenced that, you know? So it's just something that I figured I'd mention right there. But
Well, thanks for sharing.
well, thank you for listening. I'm sure
Of
that got a little
course.
complicated there. I apologize. I didn't mean
Oh,
to
that's
go
okay.
that far. That might. So
That's okay.
now
I'm just not really familiar with any of that stuff.
with that I'll just move on to Pisces. Okay.
Okay.
The current definition of Pisces is the youngest of the zodiacal constellations. Did you know that? It's the
I didn't know.
youngest. Now, the swallow of Babylonian astronomy included the western fish, but was larger as it included as well parts of Pegasus. And I was just thinking that after I had mentioned this part up here with the western equivalents for the goddess Anu or the stag. It was supposed to be Northeast Pisces and No, wait, that's the wrong one. It was the one before it, the Great Swallow. The Great Swallow was supposed to be Southwest Pisces and Epsilon Pegasi. And I just realized that after we were talking about that, that would have something to do with Pegasus. And,
Hmm.
and reading right there, it mentioned it. So that does make sense. It stuck out in my head after we'd been talking about because Pegasi, that would be what just like a freaking not Italian or Roman, but a Greek term for Pegasus.
I
Pegasi.
want to make you a T-shirt that says
That
"frickin'."
is what is the group. Pegasus is one.
It's one.
Pegasus, yeah, Pegasus is one. Pegasi is a group
Okay, so
of.
Pegasus is one. That's cool. Now it says.
Yeah, it's kind of it's not like deer. You know?
Okay, so let's see here. Parts of Pegasus. The square of Pegasus was the constellation of the field shown in the Dendera zodiac between the two fishes. The northern fish and part of Andromeda represented the goddess Amunitum, the Lady of the Heavens. Now, the late Babylonian source mentioned also Dununu, the fish cord. It is unclear how the farm worker of the Malapam became Ares, the ram of Greek tradition, possibly by a pun or misunderstanding. Which I do agree with that because that's sub rosa is how we ended up with that term. Like they misunderstood the lotus. In Egypt, they had depictions of little kids with their hand or their finger up over their mouth, and that was supposed to have been, according to the Greeks, the representation for secrecy.
Hmm.
And that's not what it was. They just misinterpreted it, and eventually, as time went on, that's how we came up with terms like sub rosa. You know what I mean? Under the rose, and it
Okay.
went.
Spanish sabroso means good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good food. You know, it's like, but it's a term you use to describe how food tastes. Sabroso.
Oh,
Well, e-
Excellent.
even in Egypt, it was actually supposed to be the lotus. You know what I mean? It was, and then like the Romans screwed it all up, of course, and the
Yeah.
Greeks screwed it
Yeah.
all
Just
up.
leave it to the Romans, right?
And those Romans and Greeks, they get all this information, and then they didn't understand what they were saying, and they screwed it all up, and it
Yeah.
went from being the lotus to the rose.
Yeah.
So, but it was all just a misunderstanding. They didn't do that on purpose.
Mm.
Do you guys believe that?
I don't know about that. We might
Yeah.
have to go back to the Tower of Babel for that one,
Right.
where where all languages were messed up
Eek.
after that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's getting really like
So
extensive into it.
Well, somewhere around the 5th century BCE, Babylonian astronomical texts began to describe the position of the sun and the moon and planets in terms of 12 equally spaced signs, each one associated with a zodiacal constellation, each divided into 30 degrees. Okay, not 45, 30 degrees.
Right.
So this happened uh, in the 5th century BCE. This was before freaking the Old Testament. Just so we can kind of get a little time span going on there. It would have probably been right around the beginnings of the Old Testament of the Bible, when they were actually written by people for real, not like put into a book like as they were being written. That's how
Right.
old this is. So um, this is when you start looking at the new updated version of the zodiac. Okay, the hip zodiac that everybody loves today. That's what we're talking about right here. Right during the time when they were just writing the Old Testament of the Bible. You see, that's why I love ancient history, because like that's all new, like modern stuff. That's the hip stuff that all the youngsters like.
Mm.
Get me back to the old Sumerians and the Babylonians, where you're talking about ancient history. You know, that's what I'm about.
Right. The only thing that I can't really get into, because I guess it's probably because of that, is that well, I don't have a lead for one. If I did have an instinctual lead, I would just follow that. Like apparently you do,
Uh-huh.
because otherwise the stuff I read is like anymore. I'm like, well, I have no idea if that is even true. But there again, I don't have a lead. So because once you get your intuition going and you know what's what, you can just follow that into the annals of history
Did you just
kind
say
of thing.
anals?
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? That's
Mm-hmm.
what they say. So yeah, and I just I don't know. I just can't really get into it so much. I mean, I really like the root of things like we were talking about, but only as so far as I can. I guess anymore, like that's practical, I suppose, or right here now kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Now,
That's just me.
this right here, when they did that one at 30 degrees, it normalized the zodiac, um, fixed to the stars, and it totals like 360 degrees. So that's where we get 360 degrees. Um, but for
Hmm,
me, what would
interesting.
wait a minute now? 30 would make 360 degrees at 12, right?
Uh,
Yeah, I think so.
I
Yeah,
have to get a
add the
calculator
zero.
out.
Add the zero. That's all you do, man. Just 12 times 3 is 36. Add the zero. 360. See,
Wow,
that's
yeah, that was an easy one, huh?
yeah. So yeah, it is 360 degrees. I had to really stop and think about that. Now, the this kind of goes into some of the stuff that you might be interested in. Have you ever heard of the Qumran horoscopes?
Qumran?
Yeah, you know what Qumran is, right?
Mm-mm. I don't think so.
Qumran is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were
Oh, okay.
associated to.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
I remember those. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
And
Now,
they an ancient Aramean.
yep. Now the horoscopes were were manuscripts found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they were also called the astrological Syagonomies.
Oh,
The archaeologists tagged it with the number 4Q186. Now, this one is something I think you would be interested in, and I thought maybe Mark would like, or um, Michael Paul, if he'd have showed up, I thought he would have liked this too. But these are unlike the horoscopes. Uh, uh, they they had no mention of positions of astral bodies. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hmm.
there was no mention of it. Instead, the text used a practice that was called physiognomics. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Physiognomics is when they tell. Well, the best way of saying it is like they use it for, like, there's people that take their hands and they'll feel your head to see if you have bumps on it,
Mm-hmm.
and they can actually feel your head, and they can they claim they can freaking tell what kind of a person you are, and then they also look at the way you look, and your appearance,
Mm-hmm.
and how you carry yourself, and they
It's
believe
kind of
that
like
too.
palm reading a little bit.
Yeah, kind of like it. Yeah. Actually, I could just go ahead and read all this and let you hear it, so that you kind of get a good idea of it. Unlike most horoscopes, however, in 4Q186, no mention of the positions of astral bodies is found. Instead, the text uses the physiognomic features of a person to tell prophecy in the Debar. This blending of features of horoscopes and of astrological no, physiognomies makes it difficult to accurately title the fragments. So, like, they have a hard way of titling the fragments that were found inside of this manuscript, is what they're basically saying.
Okay.
Um, Now, they used an example, and they said a man of 6 parts from the house of light and 3 parts from the pit of darkness is described as long and lean, and is expected to be meek. What do you think?
Wow,
What do you think about that?
that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. So 6 parts, a man of 6 parts from the house of light, and 3 parts from the pit of darkness. They're described as long and lean. So if you're long and lean, then
Yeah, like what about those short guys that look like they're like there's this one guy that you know used
mm,
to come around and he was like squat, like his body was like it was definitely different than most people.
now,
It was like squished almost, you know, but he was normal sized, you know.
now, do you think that you can read people by their appearances?
Sure. I mean, because that has a little bit to do with something or another. I find it interesting about the part about the 3 parts light or however many, and then the you know
You know,
how
you
you
read
could
that
tell
by.
that by looking at someone. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
cops do that all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
see,
right, right.
and
Well,
that
profiling.
I do have information on that too. By the way, you actually hit that one on the nose, Mark.
Yep.
just so you know, this right here, where I was
Yeah.
trying to.
They
Interesting. Wow, that's so
hold
cool.
that as a basis for how to, look for the bad guys.
Really? I want to know that. That's interesting. They
Yep.
probably got the juice on that or whatever, you know. I mean,
Oh yeah,
'cause
I
I've
mean,
never even
the
heard of that. So.
government's done so much extensive work on that, especially on the intelligence side. you know,
Mm, right, right.
yeah, police get, like they get skimmed over, that, but the intelligence communities and that out there, they go into real in depth.
Right, right.
uh,
Yeah, I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that I have no idea about. And a lot of people do, you
From
know.
mannerisms to expressions to
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's kind of
Yep.
on YouTube or whatever. The mannerisms
so
thing,
it,
that's kind of been around for a while.
it
Like if you look
even
up and look at or whatever, you know.
from breathing, to the
Yeah,
whole thing,
Now, the significance of
yeah.
4Q186 to the Qumran community can possibly be illumined by the common Qumranite teachings concerning the two spirits of light and darkness. But this
Hmm.
theory does not answer all questions. Um, Physiognomy, or face reading, is the practice of assessing a person's character or a personality from their outer appearance, especially the face.
Yeah, not like their behavior, but just their appearance.
right.
Right. Now, the term can also refer to the general appearance of a person, object, or terrain without reference to its implied characteristics, as in a physion, physio, physiognomy of an individual plant. You know what I mean? So like they can actually do that with plants too. You see what I mean? Which is kind of crazy. So
Right?
you're talking about like profiling people and then like facial recognition.
Hmm.
This is where it really gets into the crazy stuff. Like Mark's right. They started trying to
and
use it.
and you can teach AI all that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
AI. This shit is big on AI. AI is actually reigniting the study into this because of AI.
Yeah, because it can read it so fast, so well,
Sure.
Physio
because
physiognomy.
it's not distracted by other things. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yep.
There's
That's
no
why AI
distraction.
can do that. Right.
There's no chance of distraction.
Now,
That's the whole idea, right?
mm-hmm. Now,
People can get distracted pretty easy, but
now
Yeah.
the thing about physiognomy is it, it's it's had a lot of controversy in the past. Okay, but
well, sure.
it's always come back. Now, Darwinism, his okay, Darwin,
Was
people had a
wrong.
problem with him. Okay, people had a problem with him, but his brother was even worse than he was. Okay, his brother took his ideas and created freaking what we call eugenics today, and physiognomy or whatever that is a part of that.
That
Okay,
was a good one. Yeah.
they used it as a way of making it out to where a person with a slack jaw is an ignorant person. You know what I'm saying? Shit like
Hmm.
that, and then
Sure.
it became very racial, and so it didn't hit well
Right.
with the public. You know, and it's always had its up and downs, and then all of a sudden they came out with profiling, and the police practiced this stuff, and it was the same exact thing. Okay,
Yeah. Except for they make it out like it's all about behaviors.
yeah, well, they're even trying that stuff with freaking murder cases, even like if you, I mean, you watch popular TV shows where they're showing these people freaking uh, hunting down serial killers, you know what I mean? And they're going according to their characteristics because of the way they act, you know?
Right. Behaviors.
their behaviors, and I mean it's really interesting that. And then I found out too that this not only does that, but it's like me and Mark were talking about with AI. I mean, dude, they're actually using this in science for AI.
Right.
It's mind blowing, and
Yeah.
most scientists all throughout history have considered it like pseudoscience and rejected it,
Yeah.
but it keeps coming back. It's like that
Yeah.
itch that a dude with freaking unnamed viruses keeps having. You know what I mean? These days, I don't want to say it out loud on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have said that like
Look,
10.
I can say it. I'll say it.
You get the scratches. You know. I don't even know if I
Right.
want to say crabs now.
You talking about crabs, but anyways.
You must be a Cancer.
But you know what I'm getting at, right? Like this belief right here, or this thing, this practice, it's been in and out. You know what I mean? It becomes popular, it dies out. It becomes popular, it dies out, and it never goes away.
Hmm. Right.
That's what's so amazing about it.
Well, with this time that it'll stick is when you use AI, you're using a mathematical equation to do it.
Hmm. It's widespread uh, with artificial intelligence. You know, and they've had like actual modern advances in artificial intelligence because of this thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
it's actually working. It's really strange.
Hmm.
You want to hear a Greek story about the Greek
Yeah.
philosophers in this same
Yeah.
thing? You want to hear it?
Uh, I don't know because if it's in Greek, it's all Greek
No,
to me, and I don't
it
speak Greek other than Ephetus-
Oh.
Ephesiostopoli, Kalinita, Kalispera, and Kalimara, which is
Caliente.
good night, good afternoon,
Beverages.
good good morning,
now
good
now this
Easy.
thank you. Ephesisto is thank you.
mhm. No, I'm just talking about like this practice and everything. Okay.
Oh,
It-
practice.
Now it was accepted by ancient Greek philosophers. Okay, but it fell into disrepute right around the 16th century. But from the Greek philosophers all the way up, I mean, people believed in it. I mean, Socrates even talked about it. You know what I mean? Like he made comments about people's appearances and stuff, and profiling them according to the way their appearances were, and things of that nature. So I mean, it was well accepted among the Greek philosophers.
Yeah.
So
But Istanbul used to be Constantinople, but no one knows but the Greeks.
right, well, Constantinople was actually Byzantine, wasn't it?
Right.
You know,
No, it was, well, Greek Byzantine
yeah. I mean, but it was actually the capital of the Byzantine
Empire
Empire.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, you know. I mean, that's the one thing about it. Now they said that in the 16th century, that even though it was considered to be like pseudoscience among the academics, that this word that I have a hard time, physiognomy was practiced by vagabonds and mountebanks. So, does anybody here know what a mountebank is? I know what a vagabond is.
I don't know what
That sounds like
Montebank
something
is.
that Conan Doyle came up with to do Sherlock Holmes.
I was,
Uh, uh,
mountebanks. That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like they put it in the Sherlock Holmes stories
Yeah,
because
because the real bad guy there was always what was his name?
Moriarty.
Moriarty. Yeah, and Montague was the bad guy in Shakespeare, uh, well, the one bad family in Shakespeare with Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. So,
I think, or could it have been, King Lear or one of the others?
yeah. Now, physiognomy, as it is understood today, is a subject of renewed scientific interest, especially as it relates to machine learning and facial recognition technology. The main interests for science today are the risks, okay, including privacy concerns of psionomy in the context of facial recognition algorithms. Now, cytogamy is sometimes referred to as astroposcopy, a term originated in the 19th century. During the late 19th century, English psychometrician Sir Francis Galton attempted to define physiognomic characteristics of health, disease, beauty, and criminality via a method of composite photography. Now, Galton's process involved the photographic superimposition of two or more faces by multiple exposures. So he took all these people's faces, all right, and he wanted to kind of merge them together, all right. Now, after averaging together photographers of photographs of violent criminals, he found that the composite image appeared more respectable than any of the faces comprising it. This was likely due to the irregularities of the skin across the constituent images being averaged out in the final blend. So basically, when he put these photos together, freaking the image that he showed was more respectable than the ones he got back. So he was expecting like this horrible face and all this shit, and he ended up getting like some person that actually looked pretty attractive. You know what I mean? What do you think about that, guys?
I think that's kind of amusing because with the toaster technology we have today, you can do pretty much the same thing in minutes.
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
if not, by uh, really big companies in the government, seconds. So, but there's the data that you can add to it now compared to just taking the picture is that's the key, the data added to it, I think. So I think he was on track to start with, but he didn't have the full picture at the time. And it's like everything. We learn these things as we go along, and we build and we get more advanced. And technology, from a camera goes. I mean, probably around the same time. That's when they started using crystal lenses to take aura pictures too. So you have that all in one lump thing, and then you get from there, and then you're here today.
All right.
So you know, I think he was onto something.
No, I think pretty much from everything I've been hearing about AI, I think he pretty much hit it on the nose. He just didn't realize it. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
because back then, I mean, who would actually? I mean,
well,
they
you
didn't
were
even.
take you were taking pictures with black and white pictures probably then,
Uh-huh.
and putting them on silver slides or glass slides or something like that,
Right.
and the quality is going to be different now than it was then. So that's going to affect it too. Lighting would also affect how those pictures were taken. He would have had each picture taken would have had to have the same exact lighting to
Hmm.
do it. So
Well,
I don't know if that happened or not. I wasn't there, and I don't have the data for that.
well, they said that with the advent of computer technologies during the early 1990s, which I'm guessing they're referring to the AI and the compositing and stuff.
Well,
But
1990s is when Photoshop started to really, and we had started having stuff like that come out where you can detail more
yeah, computer
and
graphic software.
pull stuff forward to enhance.
Right. Yeah, well, they said that that was during the time where Galton's composition technique had been adopted, and it was also improved using computer graphic software as well. So they really caught on to it after the poor guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought that was sad. That's just horrible. Okay, so Sonia, I got something else for you.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Barakeel, or he is also known as Barakel or Barakel? He's an archangel in Judaism.
What was the first one you said?
It's Barakeel or Barakiel,
Barakiel?
Barakiel
Barakiel. No,
yeah,
I don't think so.
or Barakul or Barakel.
It kind of sounds familiar, but
How's it spelled?
Uh, Barachiel for one of them, and then Barakel is another name for it. He is also known as Barakol or Barakiel. Now,
What's his div-
sounds very familiar.
now he is one of the archangels in Judaism,
Mhm.
as well as Byzantine Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions. He,
Okay.
he is the archangel of blessings. Now,
Blessings.
now, in the third book of Enoch, he is described as one of the angelic princes with a myriad of some 496,000 ministering angels attending him. So, do you know of any importance for the number 496 or 496,000 by any chance?
No, I don't.
Okay, I wanted to
What's
find.
it divide into?
That's a good question. That would be 200. No, three. That's really good question.
Hmm.
To
For
find out, you have to find out what it divides into.
yeah. Now, he
Jesus.
is described as the Almadel of the Almadel of Solomon, as one of the chief angels of the first and fourth Korah. In Jewish tradition, he is often associated with blessings, the planet Jupiter, going back to Jupiter, and the Saphira of Chesed. The Saphira of Chesed, I think I've actually had conversations with somebody about that, or the Saphira of Chesed, however that's pronounced. But in iconography, Barakiel, Barakiel is sometimes shown holding a white rose against the chest, or with rose petals scattered on the clothing, particularly the cloak. The scattering of the rose petals was to symbolize or represent God's sweet blessings showering down on people. Barakiel, I'm just going to call him Barakiel. Barachial is also depicted holding a bread basket or a staff, both of which symbolize the blessings of children that God bestows on parents. Now, Barachial's responsibilities are as varied as the blessings for which the archangel is named. Barachial is also the chief of the guardian angels, and it is written that Barachial may be prayed to for all the benefit which the guardian angels is thought to confer if one is not praying to the guardian angel directly, but as an intercession. So if they don't want to pray to that guardian angel, they can pray to him, and he can. It's kind of like Mother Mary kind of situation. You know what I mean?
Mm.
At least that's what it sounds like to me, where you can pray to Mother Mary as an intercession instead of praying to Jesus.
Right.
So he is seen as an official saint in Byzantine Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions, and particularly a patron of family and married life. He is also seen as the angel assigned by God to watch over converts, also called adopted children of God, to assist them in their lives. He is also invoked as the special guardian of those born on Saturday. Now, do you know if Saturday holds any important, anything important according to
Saturn Day.
Saturn?
Saturn Day. Saturday.
Okay. So now on in astrology and numerology, what would 6 represent?
6 is harmony, balance.
Okay, well, what about? Well, actually, yeah, because Sunday would be the 7th day, wouldn't it? No, Sunday is the first day. So, what's 7? What 7 represent?
7 is wisdom.
Yeah, and actually, if you go according to the 7th day, on 7 is a very spiritual number too, according to a lot of them as well. That's pretty interesting.
Right.
And Saturday would, well, I mean Saturn as well. But
Yeah.
Then we go back
Saturnalia.
to we go back to Mark and his thing about Satan too.
Right.
Saturn.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, now Barachial is also traditionally associated with the month of February in the zodiac sign Pisces. Now here we go with that Pisces things again. I think that goes back to the beauty thing. You know what I mean?
Probably.
In February when I read that, it made me think of Valentine's. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So that could have a lot of pagan astrology kind of influence. You know what I mean? When it comes to all that, because I know back in the early days of Christianity, they were trying to stomp out the whole influence of the Gnostics and the pagan beliefs.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. Me and Karma went over a lot of that stuff whenever we were doing ours, so it was pretty interesting. Now, I still need to go back and look a little bit better at Pisces. I can't see what exactly that one is, but now he is also sometimes described as being the ruler of the planet Jupiter. Okay, and the zodiacal sign of Scorpio. Now the Scorpio.
Right.
Scorpio. What exactly does that entail? Do you know anything about that?
Well, that's the scorpion, right?
Yeah.
And
now are they vicious, horrible people?
Scorpios?
Yeah.
No sign is vicious or horrible.
Most can be very reclusive.
Jeez,
Are they
vicious,
loving?
horrible.
No,
All Virgos are vicious, horrible people.
no, I mean like are Scorpios like really really sensitive and loving and all that good stuff?
I don't know that they're known for that. If anything, they they probably are, but they would just be like not letting everyone know about it. Maybe.
Like, yeah, dude, whatever, I love you and shit, but don't hug me. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
Not necessarily. They
yep,
more like play it off like they don't. That doesn't bother me when it, fine, kind of
dude,
thing.
dude,
But that's just, that's not what's known about scorpions. That's just what I'm inferring. So,
okay,
you know,
okay. Well, I mean, your take is good on it now. You know what I mean?
right,
I'm,
right,
I'm
right.
okay with all that. Like, are they the
Yeah.
kind of like dudes that are hanging out and they're like, man, I love you in a non-homosexual kind of way?
No
You might
homo.
want to ask Mark about that one.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh, Roger.
wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Something like,
You
talking
know
about
what I'm saying?
Zodiac can just go south real quick.
It was funny.
now, the third book of Enoch describes Archangel Ber- Ber- Barachiel as one of the princes of the host, who is appointed over the second heaven, which is in the height of Merom, or uh, of Merom, and that's Ragia. He and the other
There you go.
He and the other holy princes are also said to be accompanied by 496,000 myriads of ministering angels. So now we have 40, 496,000. And it's just like before, they were mentioning, what was it, 300 and. No, hold up. 496,000 right there.
Right.
It was 496,000 again. Okay, so
Yep.
he and other princes is what it's adding in here instead of just him by himself. So they're all accompanied by his myriad of ministering angels. Okay. So, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I was wondering what maybe I missed something, but how did we get into the archangel ordeal here? How
This
did that come up?
this kind of goes into the numerology thing as well as
Oh,
like
okay.
when this is a lot of the esoteric stuff that was involved with astronomy, and it was also involved with divination and stuff. Like, there's a lot of things in Christianity that has to do with numerology, which is divination, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. But, like, you have sacred geometry, okay?
Right.
And whenever you get into things like oh my goodness, architecture. Okay, you look at these old monasteries. That's all built, or the majority of it's built off of sacred geometry. All
Yeah.
right.
And they're built
Right.
and they're built in sacred lands too, in areas, and then you
Right.
get into dowsing and labyrinth,
Mm-hmm.
and
Apparently, that's how they
really good
control
a really
those
good
geometry.
reference for that is go to geomancy.org.
Mm. See.
Mid-Atlantic Geomancers. Yep, he used to. I think it still ran. I'm not sure if it's still ran by Sig Longren. I was actually invited to go on a dig with him. I'm like, I don't have the money to go to Europe to go just hang out on a dig, you know,
Play in the dirt.
and play in the dirt. Yeah, I don't have that kind of money.
No,
Better
no.
luck next time, And he actually, directly invited me. I'm like, I would have loved to have gone. I
Right.
really would have, but
No, no. See, with that, okay, it what I was talking about with him, it leads into other archangels and stuff like that. Okay, like Coca BL. Okay, he's considered the angel of the stars. He's a fallen angel, and he's the fourth mentioned in the 20 watchers, leaders of the 200 fallen angels in the Book of Enoch. All right. Now, his name is generally translated as Star of God, which is fitting since it has been said that Kokabiel taught constellations to his associates. Okay, and this was something that the early church had an issue about too, is people learning about the stars and stuff like that, and then when they start talking about apocalyptic things, which uh, if you ever heard anything about the Book of Enoch, that's all it's about. It's about apocalyptic magical shit. You know what I mean? And
and a lot of eugenics and experiments
Something.
and a lot of experimentation
right, and
as we know it today. All right, they didn't know or understand that back then. Maybe some of the priests and wise men kind of had a clue, but you know, with their knowledge that they had back then, they didn't. It wouldn't be like we have today. They couldn't get on the internet and look it up. You know,
right.
Right.
or get on their phone and say, "Hey,
I remember hanging out in those
for you,
days.
Chief."
Now,
You
like,
have to go all the way to the library.
Yeah, they had to go. They had to go all the
Use
way to
words.
Alexandria,
Yeah.
or the Vatican, or places that had these huge libraries, and every city had a library.
well, you got to also take
Those
into
big ancient
consideration
cities,
some of these guys couldn't read, Mark.
right?
You know what I mean?
So not.
Right.
I
That
mean,
was like a thing to be able to read.
Yeah,
yeah, you knew you had a city when if you had the largest library.
yeah, exactly. Now, according to the book of the angel Raziel, Kokobiel is a holy angel. In other apocryphal lore, however, he is generally considered to be the fallen. Now, Kokobiel is said to command an army of 365,000 spirits. Now, that's another thing. They're real big on these numbers. You know what I'm saying about these spirits or these angels. Now we have 365,000 in spirits. Now, Erikiel is a fallen angel, the second mentioned in the 20 Watcher leaders of the 200 fallen angels in the Book of Enoch, who taught the signs of the earth, which suggests geomancy. So, first you have freaking Coco Biel, who taught the stars, okay? And now we're being brought up to Erikiel, who taught geomancy, I believe is what, you know what I mean? So geomancy is what Mark was just talking about, okay? Just so you know. Uh,
That's the divination of both sacred and secular space.
yep. And Earth itself.
That's the proper definition for geomancy.
It is it is everything that is according to earth, soil, everything, elements. When they go out and they build these temples, they observe if there's any if there's going to be any kind of shift in the freaking terrain, so that they can be able to uh,
Yeah, just ask the Freemasons.
Yeah.
ounce.
Right, exactly. There you go.
You know, they they were
That's
big
why they call them
proponents of
Freemasons.
how Washington D.C. was built.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really look at it, you'll see lots of sacred geometry in this in the District of
Yeah.
Columbia. Yeah.
Apparently, that's what keeps the lockdown on the vibration. It's the geometry of the placement of buildings. If you can imagine that,
Now,
or monuments, or whatever you want to call it. The
now, Erekiel
buildings.
is also called Eretsiketafa.
Oh yeah, got some light language going on now.
No, now that word, whatever it was that I was supposed to actually say properly,
Right.
it's supposed to mean world of distortion. Okay. Now
You
his name,
don't say.
yeah. Now his name is generally translated as Earth of God. Okay. The combination of Eric, Earth, Babylonian in origin, and El, God. Now, El is meant as God. That's what we were talking about before. That was like a
Yep.
generic word for God,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them used it. So that's
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Eric, which Eric is like the root word for um, Iraq. You know what I mean? Eric,
Mm.
and
Interesting.
it's Babylonian origins, and Babylonian is in modern day Iraq. Just so you know,
Right. Okay. I remember
you know.
that.
So so
That's
uh,
why everybody fights over there and stuff. Or whatever.
geomancy
There's a
translates
Stargate over there. Apparently.
geomancy translates literally to earth divination. Okay, and the term was originally used to mean methods
Nancy.
of divination that interpret geographic features, markings on the ground, or the pattern formed by soil, rocks, or sand. Okay.
Right.
Now, its definition is expanded over time to include any spiritual, metaphysical, or pseudoscientific practice that is related to the earth. So, all of this other stuff that is supposed to be like physical, metaphysical, and
Yeah.
spiritual, and all that, that's also started being incorporated into it. And that's what makes it more interesting because then you start getting into the the traditional religions like Buddhism and Hinduism and even Christianity. Like all of this stuff is practiced within these religions, all of them,
Right.
you know. And
But it's pseudoscience. So.
well, they don't even consider it that. It's just everyday
Yeah.
things. Like you got people going out and they're freaking surveying land to put up a building, and then they want to determine how to best put the freaking building up to where it suits like natural environments and shit. You know what I mean? And where it doesn't.
Right.
And thing
Right.
that's geomancy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you want to create a house that is environmental friendly. You know what I mean? That's what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
practicing
Too bad they
geomancy.
don't do that anymore.
You know, are
Uh,
they? Are they?
yeah, they don't do that shit anymore. Not
When you
for
do
us
it
anyway.
when you do it inside of a house, it's called feng shui.
Feng Shui,
Feng
yes.
shui.
Feng Shui.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Now,
Yeah.
um, we have finally gotten up to the good stuff that freaking I wanted to get into, and we're like almost at 3 hours. We got like 3 minutes till 3 hours. So this kind of sucks. Now, later on, if you guys want to, we can get into this if you want to talk about it. I can do another episode and stuff, and we can do another episode of Into the Abyss, and because this is one of my special projects. I don't just do Into the Abyss. You know what I mean? I wait until I get the right type of people who can come in and have the conversation. And it's on you.
Sweet.
You were the
Aw,
top of the list. You and Mark are pretty cool, man. Did a good
comes
job.
naturally.
So, do you guys have any final thoughts in all of what we've been discussing that you want to say something? Because
Hmm. Uh, It's really some pretty in-depth stuff, and there's a lot more to it than just that, I'm sure. You
Oh
know?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, like I really freaking I really enjoyed doing this stuff, but I'm going to tell you right now, I was wondering how much I could actually put on here. I didn't think that I could actually cover where we've gotten to now.
Really?
Yeah, and to be honest, right here where we're ending it is the coolest shit of it all. Like, cause here you get into like the Hindus, and you get into the freaking I Chi.
Oh, the I Ching?
Well,
Yeah.
just to let you all know, it's been fun hanging out. I gotta take
Yeah,
and
bro.
finish up dinner, and then I got a show to prep for later tonight.
Well, before you
So
go,
Right
give
on.
everybody your links and stuff, or your thing, cause we're about to get off here too.
censorship suck starts tonight at 7:30. We'll have pre-show Central Time. Eight no, it's 7 p.m. Central start time. Uh, for Central, 6 p.m. West Coast, no, Mountain, and then 5 for West Coast and 8 for East Coast. So, and to get a hold of me, it's dragisproductions@gmail.com for all the Dragus Productions radio shows and streams.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
There you go.
All
No,
right.
uh,
And you all take care. It's been fun hanging out with you. And
you, you
well,
you have a good one, man. I'm guessing
Hi, Mark.
that was Mark's phone call
nope,
going off right
that
I
was
think it
not.
was mine.
there. Oh, okay.
I don't get phone calls, so I don't. It's probably some silly something or another. I don't know.
All of a sudden, she gets a phone call like, "Damn,
Yeah.
dude, what's
I don't
up?"
know.
It's like,
All right. Well, I'll catch you all later.
"Hey,
It's been fun.
it's been
And
fun,
take
Mark.
care and catch you on the next one.
You too,
Yeah.
man. Talk to you later.
Mhm.
All right, bye.
Bye bye." Okay,
Bye.
what about you, Sonia Galactic? Why don't you give us your information real quick, and we
Oh,
can end this, and then maybe later on we can continue it, uh,
okay.
because this anyhow goes more into the divination. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
that's something that I really do want to get into, as well as start talking more about the divination and the numerology.
Well, that works out with tarot too.
Yeah,
Divination.
yeah,
Yeah. So I know a little bit. I mean, that's one of the things you study when you're studying tarot and things. You
it's,
learn about divination. So,
so we can set up another time to do it and get things organized and come back and do another episode if you
yeah,
want. Sound good?
I left some stuff in the chat for you that's pretty cool
Okay,
on
good.
Skype here.
All right.
The archaics links and all that. And mine's just galacticfire.com, and it's TEC instead of TIC. And I'm still working on it. I'm always like right at the edge of finishing it. That's kind of where I am now. It's usual. So we'll see what happens here. But I got my payment system down, which is you got to have that, or forget it. You
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
It's going pretty good so far.
And just to let everybody who's watching or who will watch know, we do have Sonia Galactic's commercials on our shows. She's the one
Yeah,
that does the cool little commercials with the freaking shirts that I've been getting
yeah.
comments about.
I gotta make you a new commercial. What, you got comments about that? Cool.
Yeah, we got one. He says, "I like the shirt."
Yeah, cool.
So,
Awesome. I haven't had anybody signing up, at the site yet, so
well, we'll keep
we'll
putting it
see.
on there until somebody finally gets it through their head that
Yeah.
they need to check out Sonia
I'll make a
Galactic.
sign up one. I'll make a sign up one for you or something. Something cooler than the one that you have. I didn't know that was gonna be like you're gonna put it on so much, or I would have been like, oh, let me give you a different one.
Oh,
So, but it's cool. Yeah.
it's an actual commercial within my videos now. So,
Right. Yeah. I've seen how you put it up there. I was like, wow.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So we're gonna be doing that for you and
Yeah.
getting
Right on.
things started off there. So with that, I will tell everybody thanks. Or say to everybody, thanks for watching. Thank you, Sonia, and thank Mark
You're
eventually
welcome.
for being on the show too. And I think we did a good job of this, so I'm going to end it before I say something to screw it up. So I will talk to you later, okay?
Okay. All right. Bye.